Hello, Durud and Shalom. How's everyone doing? I see people already here in the chat. Thank you guys for being here. All right, guys. Today we are going to try to get some people up here. We were successful last time, so maybe we will be successful today. What do you guys think? I will be engaging with the chat until somebody shows up. Let me make sure if I have the link correctly. I'm going to post a link for people to come up and talk to me and debate me in the live chat. Is this the correct link? Yes. I'm going to post and I'm going to pin it. Thank you guys for last time recommending that I do that so I don't have to keep posting it every time. So, yeah, now it's pinned. Anybody who wants to come up and talk to me and debate me on Israel and Zionism, they could do so. But usually, guys, last time the anti-Israelis showed up at the 15-minute mark. It's interesting because usually they come at the 20-minute mark. So are we improving? Is that the reason? Or is it that the title last time? I need to come up with a title that gets on the anti-Israelis' nerves. That usually attracts them. Moral Wombat is here. LD is here. Delta. Flying Robot Dog. Emmett. Nail Bunny. Jack is here. Fantastic. Samantha is here. All right. Oh, thank you. Sarush is saying, "Love you, Armin. Best Iranian on Iranian YouTube." Well, thank you, guys. By the way, I just finished my Persian channel live stream. So I think Sarush, are you coming from there? Yeah, I should have advertised this live stream on the Persian channel because there's a crossover sometimes. Yeah, Chris, I don't know. That's not the topic that we're discussing today. All right, so guys, what do you think? What do you guys? Let's prepare before the anti-Israelis show up, because at the beginning of the show they're not going to be around. But this is the time that we warm up. I know you guys here are pro-Israelis because only the pro-Israelis show up at the beginning, and then the anti-Israelis will show up. Oh, I know what they need to do. I forgot to do this. I forgot to do this. Oh, somebody showed up already. Sword and Scripture. Okay, I'll bring you up, but let me just put the banner here so that people see what the show is about, so that they're more likely to. All right, let's see. Sword and Scripture. Let's bring you up. Hi, Sword and Scripture. Hi.
Hi. How's it going?
Good. Tell me what's your point. Tell me your argument. What are you trying to say today?
Yeah, so first of all, why would you call yourself an atheist? So then you are calling yourself a Zionist. So how does it match?
What is a Zionist? What's
Zionist
the
means
definition of
those who
Zionist?
supports the states of Zion. I mean, state of Israel.
Yeah, I support every single nation state on earth, including
Yes,
Israel.
but
So that
Israel is an apartheid state. So
well,
why
hey,
would
hold on. Let me. You cannot interrupt me when I'm answering you. Okay.
Oh, I
Okay.
thought that your answer already over. Okay, go ahead, please.
No, I was. Yeah, so I was saying that I support every single nation state out there, every single one of them. Not their, maybe some of them I don't support their governments. For example, the current government in Iran, or the current government in Russia, the current government in North Korea, the current government in China. I don't support those governments, but I support the nation state, the people, right? I support the people. I support their border integrity, their right to have a country, their right to defend their country against attacks, and that includes Israel. So, based on your own definition, if anybody who supports Israel becomes a Zionist, well, given that I support every single country out there, including Israel, I would be a Zionist because I support Israel.
Yes, of course.
What does
If you
it got to do
support the
with
state of
atheism?
Israel, that means you are a Zionist. And I hope your answer is over because I have some counters for your answer. So first of all, you call yourself an atheist, but then you said that you support the nation of Israel. You support all the nations. But the thing is, Israel is an apartheid state, which has never been existed before 1947, after the Second World War. So how does that work?
Okay, is your question over? Can I answer?
Yes.
Okay. So first of all, I still don't see the contradiction between supporting Israel and being an atheist. Even if what you're saying is correct, which is not, Israel is not an apartheid state. But even if it was, what is the contradiction between that and being an atheist? An atheist is just somebody who doesn't believe in God, supporting a country, even if it was an apartheid
Yeah,
country.
because they stole the land of
Wait,
the
hold on,
Palestinians.
hold on. Hey, Sword, I'm not. I'm in the middle of answering your question. Do you not see? All right. So, if somebody doesn't believe in God, if they at the same time they could support a country, even if that country was an apartheid country, which Israel is not, and that would not negate the fact that they don't believe in God. In fact, I've been to Israel. Israel, it has many people. There are many Zionists in Israel who are atheists. Israel has a growing atheist movement within. I went to Tel Aviv. I saw atheist activists in Israel. In fact, it's the only country in the Middle East where atheists can do their atheist activism freely without fear of government coming and punishing them. And so that's that answer. And then regarding apartheid, Israel is not an apartheid state, and the age of the country does not make it a legitimate or illegitimate country. We have newer countries even than Israel as a nation state, and those are legitimate countries. So the age of a country doesn't make it fake or real. And apartheid, every single citizen of Israel has equal rights. So Jews and non-Jews in Israel have equal rights under the law, which is the contradictory to the definition of apartheid. And also, by the way, I see Syria, Palestina in the also wants to talk. I will once I'm done speaking to Sword and Scripture, I will bring you up. Okay, but that's my answer. So let me. What's your response?
My response is, what do you mean? First of all, these guys stole the land from Palestinians after 1947, which has historical document. Because in history there is no credible history that it existed before 1947, other than Bible. So these are basically some land stealers like the British Empire, who or the you can call it the Spanish conquistador, who just came from the other Europe, and they just started establishing colonies over there. So that's what Israel is. And second, next thing is, if you support Israel, that means you are supporting the genocide they are committing. Am I correct? So if you're supporting
Okay.
a genocide, no, my thing is not over. So the thing is, if you support the total genocidal state, so how come an atheist supports the genocidal state? So that's my thing. Yes, please continue.
Okay. First of all, you did not respond to my response to your first points. You just moved on to new
Sorry, what was
points,
your question?
right? Let me finish my talking. Okay.
Mhm.
So you said, how could an atheist support Israel? I
Yes.
showed you that there is no. You don't need to say anything. Let me finish my points. Okay. I basically made the point that there is no contradiction between being an atheist and supporting Israel, but then you didn't respond to my response. You didn't show the contradiction. I
The
also
contrary.
made the
Okay,
point.
okay,
You
okay.
also
All right, all right.
hold on. I'm talking. Let me
Yes, let
finish
me
my
answer
point,
one by
please.
one.
No. You made couple of points. When you were making a couple of points, I didn't interrupt you to say that no, let me answer them one by one, okay? Because you made a couple of points, let me also make a couple of points before you speak. By the way, I see multiple people here wanting to come up, so let's try to hurry, okay?
Mhm.
So again, you interrupted me, so I have to figure out where I was. Right. So you said that there's a contradiction between being an atheist and supporting Israel.
Yes.
I challenged you on that, and you didn't actually give me any reason for why the contradiction is there.
Do you want
Then
me to
you
give you
accused
now?
Israel. Hold on, I'm speaking. Do you not understand that I'm not done? Is that really hard for you to wait?
Yeah, because
Is
I don't like to answer multiple things, because that is
You
gonna
made
make
couple
me
of.
producing
I'm
these things.
responding to a couple of points from you. I gave you the chance to make a couple of points. So
I
please
just
have
asked
enough
you one
respect
question. I
for
didn't
me.
make couple of points.
All right, if you cannot, no, you made a couple of points. I
No, no,
am
I just
making a
answered
couple of
one.
points. And if you don't know how to talk to people, then I'm gonna need to move on to the next person. But
Yeah,
can you
because you're
please
scared.
respect? I am responding. I brought. Yeah, I'm so scared. I gave the link for people to come up and talk to me. That I'm so scared.
Yeah. Please,
This is your
please.
time.
Shall I answer the point you just made?
No, you haven't. You don't even. You're scared because you don't even let me make
Shall
my
I
point.
answer the
You keep
point you made?
interrupting me.
Why is
You
an
are.
atheist? Why
You keep interrupting me because you know
Israel
that you
is
have nothing
Israel
against.
is
All right, you can. All right, okay. If somebody doesn't let me talk, then they're not worth talking to. Like he says, you're scared. You're scared, but he doesn't. He's so scared about my counterpoints because he keeps interrupting me. If you keep interrupting me, how am I going to have a discussion with you? Right. So, guys, you saw when he made the apartheid accusation, I basically told him how it's not an apartheid, and then instead of responding to that, he just moved on to making a whole bunch of other false accusations like genocide because they can't they don't have the ability to respond to the counter argument that they have. So when they see that their hands are empty and they have nothing to say, they just add other accusations. He said that there's a contradiction between you being an atheist and supporting Israel. I asked how that's a contradiction. And then when he sees that I actually can respond to him and he sees that he doesn't have any points, he just has to constantly interrupt me. And that's not a way to have a discussion, right? So I showed him why Israel is not an apartheid. He didn't have any response to that. So he just went and, oh, Israel is committing genocide. They stole the land. Yeah, sure. Whatever. Let's go to this other person. Hello there. Hello, that's your name? Hello there. I wasn't. Okay, that guy just left as well. Nick. Nick, you're here, but your mic is not connected. And that's why I cannot bring you up. Nick, your microphone is not connected. All right. So, what do you guys think? Like when people keep not letting you make your point, should I just continue with them or should I just is there a point? Jewish Samantha, you wanted to come and debate something with me. Did you want to come up and talk to me about something? Maybe I should just keep them on, even if they interrupt me, because it has entertainment value at least. Let me see what you guys are saying in the chat. JS is saying, arguing with these people is always pointless. Oh, hello there is here. Hello there.
You keep hello. Can you hear me?
Hi. Yes, I can hear you.
Yeah, sorry.
I also see somebody else waiting. I see Nick and Touch waiting, but go on. Hello there. What's your?
Yeah, I'm not going to make this very long. I just first of all just want to make sure the temperature here is just down. I'm not here to be shouting over you or anything like that. It's more of a conversation discussion. I just want to. What would you say is your prediction, or what would you say would be the perfect? I guess not perfect because there's no perfect end to this conflict. But what would you say would be your ideal scenario of ending the conflict in Gaza or the conflict between Israel and Palestine? Like, would you say that would be a 2-state solution, a 3-state solution? I assume you don't support any sort of 1-state solution, right?
Well, I do support this 1-state solution, but a 1-state solution that is going to take decades to make, right? I support the idea of, first of all, destroying Hamas's ability to rule over Gaza completely, right? And for Israel to stay in Gaza until that happens, right? And then Israel taking full control over Gaza. I think that's really difficult to do. So we might have to get involved other countries like Saudi Arabia involved, right? And then while they rebuild Gaza, there needs to be a complete control over the education system there and the media in Gaza. And we need to, so I think many of the people in Gaza, not all of them, but many of them are too far gone for them to be de-radicalized. So we need to focus on the future generations that haven't been born yet. So we need to basically de-brainwash them, de-radicalize, so try to make sure that the new not de-radicalize them because they haven't been born yet. We have to make sure that the next generation does not become radicalized. And and also if we notice that the children are being radicalized at home, because we could have we could have child psychologists questioning children in kindergarten, elementary school, to make sure that they're not being radicalized at school. And if any parent is radicalizing their children, they need to be separated from the parents. They need to be in the education system, in the media. There needs to be education regarding anti-Semitism and everything that kids need to know to learn to live peacefully with Jews. And then slowly, as we build Gaza and provide work for them and a future that they could hope for, and also we de-radicalize the future generation, slowly we could pick a few that will become the first citizens. We give them citizenship of Israel. Again, I'm not talking about the current people in Gaza. I'm talking about the future generation where have grown in an environment where they're not being radicalized. And then we could start expanding from there eventually, and then until all of Gaza is part of Israel, slowly. That's my this is my plan. I don't know. I'm not saying that's easy, but it's better than anything else, in my opinion.
Okay. So you would say that you would think that was better than like a sort of two-state solution, where instead like we have maybe some sort of mediation with China or America, or even Egypt or something like that, where Israel would, you said in your second point about they would be going and have some sort of presence in Gaza, but instead they would maybe elect a sort of maybe like a coalition government that's made up of Palestinians, but like has a kind of like joint a joint control or a joint like foundation of like Egypt or Israel that like sort of administrates the region, individual from Israel.
None of those countries will have Israel's best interests in mind, to the point where if they controlling that area, if Gaza and West Bank gets out of the control of Israel, they will very likely turn into a base of operations to eliminate Israel one day. And now they're going to have international protection because they're now independent and nation states, and they have the right to arm themselves, and they're going to basically become the center of mobilization and unity for all the forces in the world that want to basically take down Israel. And also, I've been to Tel Aviv. The distance between Tel Aviv and the West Bank is so small. There is no defense mechanism in the world that could actually stop the missiles that are that far away from Tel Aviv. There's nothing that could stop them, and Israel's existence will become jeopardized in a way that has never. I mean, they could start. First of all, you cannot force a Palestinian state on them, because they don't want a Palestinian state. The majority of the people there fighting, they want the end of Israel. They were offered more than 5 times to have their own country, and every time they said no, because saying yes would mean that they would recognize Israel. And they rather actually focus on destroying Israel than having a country. So everyone who's focusing on having a two-state solution is basically not realizing that the people there fighting, that's not even what they're fighting for. They're fighting for the destruction of Israel. So, I mean, this has been tried many, many times. Why are we going to be trying a two-state solution again for the 6th time? When they said no every single time. Like at some point, the world has to realize that they don't actually want a Palestinian state. The Palestinian state is the wish of the leftists around the world for Palestine. It's not the wish of the so-called Palestinian people there. They want the destruction, the end of Israel. That's what they're fighting for.
I guess then you would say that one of your core tenets, or one of the core desires of your outcome, would be some sort of like full Israel occupation of Gaza and the West Bank for Palestine, right?
It wouldn't be occupation, because it would be Israel, and there would be citizens, right? There would be citizens with equal rights.
Yeah, so we wouldn't call it occupation. It would be a full Israel presence, like a full like absorption of the Palestinian citizens, future generations, into the state of Israel. That would be your position, right?
Right.
As once they've been
de-radicalized. And also one thing else, people in the chat are pointing out, Gaza, Egypt and Jordan, these people don't want Gaza. They don't want the West Bank. Okay, this is like a tumor for them, right? So like, oh, have Egypt as a present there and we're managing there. Like, yeah, I mean, that would be a night. Like, what would Egypt get out of that? They don't want that. Nobody wants that. Having Gaza is a burden. It's not a privilege. It's a burden. It's something that it's not something that requires a lot of fixing. So how are we, other than there's nobody that has the interest to fix that area other than Israel. And even if you give it to other people, other countries, they are not going to be motivated to stop the people there, to stop that zone from becoming from avoiding it from becoming a base of operations for destroying Israel. Nobody would have that interest other than Israel itself.
Well, I don't think that's true. I mean, I think it would be a boon for Egypt. It would be a boon for like the other surrounding countries if Palestine.
Not with the level of
no,
not with the level of radical. Like Hamas is Muslim Brotherhood. Okay, Egypt does not want Hamas. Like they don't. In fact, if it was controlled by Egypt, now the whole world, now Egypt is already the government in Egypt and Jordan, they're already dealing with Islamists like Islamic terrorists in their own country, accusing them of being anti-Islamic. Imagine if they were holding Gaza and not allowing the people in Gaza to enter the rest of the country, and basically holding, because if they allow the people in Gaza to now come into Egypt, they just invited Muslim Brotherhood, which is their main enemy, into Egypt. But if they don't allow it, now they're going to be like, oh, this is Egypt and you're holding these people here prisoner. That's a headache that Egypt, I mean, Jordan was almost toppled because of the so-called Palestinians, okay? The so-called Palestinians in Jordan almost toppled the government. So Jordan was already collapsed because of these people. And now you're going to ask them to just now, here's a whole bunch more. Like Jordan and Egypt see these people as nightmare. They're more scared of them than Israel is.
Yeah, but I'm not making a argument for why Jordan should absorb those people. And like in the two-state solution that I said, it would be a Palestinian it would be a Palestinian government that would be founded, or like basically essentially it would, Israel and Jordan or whatever, Egypt would try some sort of negotiation where we remove Hamas.
Would they open the border?
No,
Jordan and Egypt want. Yeah, okay. So Jordan and Egypt want this to be Israel's problem, no, not their problem. If all of a sudden Egypt is there and they're controlling things, then people are like, okay, why are you not opening the border? Why can't the people there leave?
Well, they don't have to control anything. Like, it doesn't even have to be Egypt. It could be China. It could be America. It could be like, we could pressure America into like maybe forcing Israel to. It's fine if they want to remove Hamas. I don't give a fuck about Hamas. Like, we remove Hamas, we do all that. But at the end of the day,
come there and do what?
What?
By the way, three other people are waiting. So let's.
Okay, so I'll just wrap this up.
No, I want to. This is actually very interesting. Sorry that I'm wrapping it up because of other people. But I'm actually interested in your plan. Come there and do what?
Essentially try to give the Palestinian people like something to rally around that isn't Hamas propaganda, Hamas back hate of.
Like what give them what? Give them what to rally around?
I don't fucking know. Like rebuilding their country, making their country better, building an actual thing that can sustain them. Yeah, that's what
Okay, so Egypt doesn't have enough money to rebuild itself right now.
Yeah, but it doesn't have to be Egypt. It could be America. It could be Israel. It could be a joint venture.
Okay, America right now. You think American taxpayers will be happy with United States going in there and spending money to rebuild Gaza?
I mean, I think American taxpayers right now are fucking retarded. So I mean, that's a non sequitur. But it doesn't really matter what the American taxpayers' money like.
My point is that nobody would want to spend enough. Okay, some countries will try to spend some money to basically virtue signal that we're taking care of Gaza, but nothing enough to actually build Gaza and control it and maintain it. Only Israel has the enough interest to invest in fixing the Gaza situation. Nobody else is that motivated because they don't have it's a cost, it's a burden. It's a big cost.
I mean, but don't we already have like a lot of interest in making sure that Palestine isn't producing terrorists that go to Britain or whatever the fuck and bomb the fuck out of people or whatever? Like, isn't that a
yeah? And the only country that we could support to fix the situation is Israel, because nobody else's interests are aligned to fix this.
I mean, we can still support them by giving them money to help them with the initiative to rebuild, right?
Give who the money? The people in Gaza?
We give Israel, then Israel would distribute that money to whatever shell companies, whatever the fuck they want to make up that help, like, would start.
So that would mean that Israel that would mean Israel has to go inside, not Egypt, not Jordan, not Saudi Arabia.
No, but I'm saying, like, it would be a negotiation process where they can coordinate.
Yeah,
get rid of.
I'm
Hamas.
I'm okay with having other countries involved, but the main management, because the main alignment here, the main investment and the main interest is by Israel. Israel should be leading all of this, but we could have other countries involved.
Yeah, that's fine. Yeah, I'm fine with Israel leading, but do you believe that there should be some sort of off ramp after that, to where, like, control gradually goes back to, or is it just a complete
back to,
like, back to whatever?
As soon as Israel will be betraying the people of Israel if it gives up control over Gaza and West Bank, because you have no idea what's going to happen. That's a huge risk.
So you think that, like, it just can never happen? Like, the people are just too violent. They can never.
We don't. Well, the people right now are too violent. I'm talking about the future generations could be better, right? But on average, not all of them. I don't want to generalize, but I'm just saying that given that you don't know what's going to happen, you should be there to make sure it doesn't turn into a mess.
Yeah, no, I mean, I understand that they have, they have their own security that they need to take into account when they're, making these deals. But I'm saying, like, far into the future, you don't think there could ever be some sort of off ramp where, like, Israel has basically created these, institutes to govern Palestine for them, and they sort of slowly, like, shutter their own influence in them, or will that just another Hamas will just come up?
It's possible that it could look like things are getting better, but then if you give up control and then things turn for the worse, then you can't go back in now because it's now in its own country.
Well, at that point, we would just be working on good faith at that point, right?
Yeah. So, and I think Israel cannot afford to just work on good faith for when it comes to Israel is the country most threatened with extinction compared to any other country in the world by its neighbors. So I don't think Israel could just afford to take a risk.
Okay. I think that's a fair point. All right. Well, that was a good conversation. Have a good one.
Thank you.
Thanks for everyone. Bye-bye.
Thank you. That was a good conversation. I hope I get to talk to you again.
Okay. Hey, maybe.
All right.
Who knows? The world is wild. Bye.
Yes. All right. I'm going to put you down and bring back up. Put you down was not the right phrasing. Yiftach. Okay. Hi. I don't know how to pronounce it.
Hi. It's pronounced Iftach.
Iftach.
And Jean was just laughing in the background at how you pronounced it. Hi from Jean.
Okay, I'm sorry. I really suck at pronouncing.
No. It's almost impossible to pronounce even in Persian. It's just too many missing vowels.
Yes. Well, I appreciate you recognizing that. Okay, so what do you want to say?
I mostly had a long-standing argument with you about Palestinian as a nationality, and your claim that there is no such thing as a Palestinian nationality. I have three.
I didn't say there is no, because these are obviously nationalities are human-made concepts and they exist in minds of people, right? It's not like a physical thing that you can say it exists. It's not like an apple. It's not like a rock that you could say it exists or not. These are all so obviously the Palestinian nationality exists in the minds of some people, and because of it being a concept, then you could say it exists, right? Just like all other nationalities. But what I'm saying is that I refuse to recognize it, and I think that it doesn't serve any good purpose. Not that it doesn't exist. Does that make sense?
It makes sense. However, it does. The question whether nationality's self-purpose is more abstract, but the fact that the Palestinians have a national identity and have had it for 3 generations, you can say 3 generations are not enough, but honestly, nationality is about 7 generations old as a concept, modern nationalism. So not that far off.
I never make my argument was never that it's useless because it's recent. I only mention how recent it is to the people who claim that it's ancient. But I don't point.
The very concept of nationality in the Middle East is very recent.
In the world, actually.
Yes. The Ottoman Empire, however, managed to push it in the Middle East in about 40 years after most of the world. The main thing I do want to comment then is that by virtue of exclusion, the fact that the last 3 generations of Palestinians were raised to be rejected from all other relevant nationalities, even the ones who were raised in Syria or in Jordan or inside the West Bank, were taught from a very young age that they are not part of those nationalities. Right now, most Palestinians do not have any other national identity that they can relate to. And yes, the Arabs mostly kicked the Palestinians out of all other nationalities, and I believe generally that Israel has attempted along the years to reinforce the idea of Palestinian nationality as something that can actually lead to something that isn't self-destruction. The success has been debatable.
Failed every time. Well, they failed every time. The so-called Palestinian people, on average, not all of them, when they were offered the choice to have a Palestinian nation state or continue with the destruction of Israel, they over and over and over again, they refused to accept that offer in favor of continuing the fight. And
you will not get any argument from me about the success of the Palestinian nationality project. However, I can say the same thing about the Egyptian.
Why continue trying something that has failed so many times? And why try to push a concept upon a people that they're refusing it themselves?
I will be honest. I am not sure that the concept of Western nationalism has a great future in a lot of the world. Honestly, it doesn't seem to have caused a great amount of long-lasting peace or stability to great parts of the world. And honestly, most of the Middle East can be described as various failed nation states.
Wait, you're saying the concept of nationality hasn't brought peace to the world? Because is that what you said?
I believe that while Europe and South America and North America can be said to be a successful nation state project, I am honestly uncertain that in 100 years we will consider the nation state to be the way in which to describe it. It's too recent, and honestly, again, the very look at the Middle East, Africa, and large parts of Asia does not fill me with great hope that the nation state is the way to create long-lasting borders, economic prosperity.
I think you're very wrong. I think that the nation-state model has brought more peace and stability to the world than we have ever experienced. I don't know what you're comparing this. Okay, so then this is a successful project. Even in Africa and even in the Middle East, yes, sure, there's wars right now. There's instability, but the instability that we're dealing with right now is completely incomparable to the level of peace and stability that we have, like so much better.
I will admit
the lack of to the peace and stability that we had before this framework. We are so much better off. And if you're talking about 100 years, of course, given the rate of progress that society is going for, I don't think we're going to have something different in 100 years. Probably network states. We're going to evolve from nation states to network states. I'm not talking about 100 years from now. I'm talking about right now. Right now, this is the most efficient model, and it's working really, really well. I mean, in fact, all the stability and peace that we enjoy today in the world today is because of this new model that we have right now.
I agree. By the way, this is more of, I agree with you that the question for the future and how long it will continue, I am not a great believer in the end of history. Capitalism brought more prosperity than any other previous economic system. Mercantilism, guild-based, state-owned based economies. But that doesn't mean that 100 years from now it will be considered the best economic system to have ever existed. We might have new things based on new technologies. I am saying, however, that the very discussion, and we'll go back to the Palestinians because this is a much more general topic, the question about Palestinian nationhood should be answered in one of three ways. Either they're a nation, and they should either be a nation state or a failed nation without any borders, economy, or leadership, which is what they are right now. They should have an identity which is not nationality-based, which honestly they do not have right now and will not have in the next 30 or 40 years. Or they should be accepted into other nationalities, which honestly, even less likely than the foundation of a functioning Palestinian nationality that is based on killing Jews. So I am honestly a believer in the building of a Palestinian nationality, even though honestly it didn't work so well so far.
Yeah, I don't agree with that. I think that that's going to create a base of operations that's going to create the center for all the anti-Israelis in the world to come and bring their operations there and unite there to try to take down Israel. I think if you're looking for a nationality for these people, you have to look for a nationality for their grandchildren, not the ones who are alive today. And I think you need to, the nationality that I want for their grandchildren is Israeli, but not the ones who are alive today. And we could wait. This is a multi-generational project, and we have to work on something that will work maybe 30 or 40 years from now, not now. This is right now with the current people who are called Palestinians, this is a lost cause, I think. And we think we should just make sure we work on their children. And then we could give them Israeli nationality at this point.
I think you give less credence to how quickly national identities change and to the fact that Spain was a fascist dictatorship in both of our lifetimes. So I don't think 3 generations is the farthest, but honestly, this is the point in which we just have a disagreement about
No, you might be right. That would be in my favor. That point would be in my favor because I'm saying we should do this even if it takes 30 or 40 years. You're saying that it could happen earlier. Okay, well, then my plan will become even better.
But that's also true for my claim. My claim says that, yes, there has been nationalities that have formed in 30 years from countries that were war-torn and completely filled with hate.
I'm not denying that. I'm not denying that could happen. But I'm saying that you cannot roll the dice. Right? So yes, it's possible that we will have a Palestinian nation state and things work out and becomes a country that could be a not hostile neighbor to Israel. Is that possible? That's possible. But do you want to take the risk? Do you want to give it? Do you want to risk Israel's existence to this bet? I think this is gambling, and I don't think, given that Israel is the only nation state where it's not its borders, not its other countries when they're attacked, they're like, oh, we're going to attack your borders. We're going to basically take these resources from you. It's Israel that is the only country that its enemies want to completely wipe it out, to the point of non-existence. And more people in the world are united to completely destroy Israel than any other country. So given that, do you want to roll the dice on what could happen to Palestine as a country? If I was Israeli, I would think maybe it will turn out well, but I'm not going to bet our survival on a maybe.
Then I think I will finish by one thing that I have talked with Jean about for years. Yes, there is kind of an insane arrogance that Israelis don't understand that is weird for the rest of the world, in which Israelis just answer that question with, we've taken worse chances. And I'm sorry. This is something that Israel is debating internally, but a lot of us are still saying, oh yeah, we'll take those oaths. We've taken much stupider ones in the past.
I wouldn't say, I think Israel has performed very well when it comes to guaranteeing its survival in the past. And I'm just
we're not going to take it into a blind hope. Israel, I've spent 13 years in the Navy, not based on blind hope. No, there will be a lot of weaponry behind that bet.
So I don't think they were just, those bets were not gambling. Those bets were with a lot of reassurances when it comes to military force. And I think if we basically make Palestine a nation state, that would not be in line with all the other ways Israel operated to make sure it protects its citizens. It would not be in line with its history. But anyways, there was some people are in the private chats.
I'm sorry. This went beyond what I wanted to mention in the start.
No, so but I appreciate it. I appreciate it because it was very interesting. I really enjoyed talking to you. So thank you for that.
Thank you. I let other people speak.
Yes, thank you. This was very interesting. I really enjoyed this conversation. Okay, so let me bring who's in line. Nick tried to come up a couple of times, and then after that, it's the kid, and Jewish Samantha is here as well, and then Fair Root. Okay, so let's see, Nick. Nick, can you open your mic?
Hello.
What do you have to say? Hi.
Okay, so I've been watching your channel for some time.
Okay.
And my question is, why do you think Israel's creation was a just thing? No, let's just put that in the first question. Why?
Well, because the place that they went and made a country, there was no country there. It belonged to the Ottoman Empire, and the Ottoman Empire collapsed. So there was no nation state at that point over there. It made a lot of sense. There were a lot of empty land that did not belong to anybody. And the Zionists originally, they were a secular movement. Their movement was not about religion. Their movement was about to create a country for Jewish people, so that they could protect themselves against all the hostility and all the hate in the world. And they were so secular and non-religious that they didn't care where. They were looking in other places, not just the land that Israel is now a country. But obviously, because of historical ties, they managed to get more support for that land. And also, I know it's surprising now, but back then over there in that land, that land was less hostile to Jews compared to other places. There was still a lot of hostility to Jews even back then in that land. But compared to Europe and the Soviet Union, that seemed like the best place to go if you want to survive at that point. So given that there was no country there, given that there was so much empty land that didn't belong to anybody, given that the Zionist project could get a lot more funding and support for that land, and given that the Zionists were proven right after World War II, because the Zionists were predicting that something really bad is going to happen to Jews, and Jews need a place to go to protect themselves, Jews didn't take them. Religious Jews didn't take Zionists seriously, right? Religious are like, what are you talking about? You're going to make us. But let me just say this. But then, because of World War II, then more Jews realized that, oh my God, the Zionists were right, and it's good that project had already started, so that during World War II, now they had a place to go at least. So that project actually proved itself very. They proved themselves very useful. They predicted the thing that actually happened, which is actually amazing. But go on.
So when you say there was no nation state in Palestine, right? But there were already Arabs living there. So like even if there wasn't a nation state, shouldn't the Arabs living
not
there
in the lands that
like why is it?
No, okay. So
yeah.
So there are two types of, when you're talking about ownership, are you talking about private ownership or political control, right?
I'm saying
because there's a lot of okay, so the land before 1947, okay, before Israel became a country a year after, right? The Jews who went to Israel, there was two types of settlements, right? They either they settled in lands that nobody was in and nobody privately owned, or if they took over land that was owned by somebody, they paid for it, which is actually a small percentage of it. It was around 5% of the lands that they took over was the private ones that they paid for. But every other land that they settled in was not privately owned by anybody. Only after Israel became a country and all the Arab nations decided to attack Israel, it was a birthday gift. On their first day, they decided to wipe it out. They're like, no, hell no, you won't. And they started to destroy Israel. Then Israel, surprisingly, managed to defend itself and against seven armies at the same time and won. And in the process of defending itself, it came over. And then at that point, many of the Arabs left because of the war that the Arab nations started. And then Israel managed to take over more land in defending itself. Israel didn't start the war. Israel was just defending itself. And even under international laws, when you take land in the process of defending yourself, you get to hold it. It's illegal to hold land if you started the war. But if in the process of defending yourself you hold land, then you get to keep it, because of the argument is that obviously the people who attacked me have proven that this area is hostile to me and I need a buffer against them. So under international law, that you have the ability to maintain control over the lands that you gain from when you defend yourself.
So my point would be, even so, the Arabs were always against Zionism, right? So why should Jewish immigrants be able to come and then create an Israel Jewish state if the people who live there were against that the whole time?
First of all, not all Arabs are against Zionism.
No,
but I think the Arabs. Yeah, I think the Arab. I know Arab Zionists. I think the Arabs that you're talking about, they weren't against Zionism. They were against Jews as a whole.
Well, so I'm saying the Arabs who lived in the land which is now Israel, Palestine, they always were against creation of Israel. So, like, shouldn't their wishes be respected as they're the residents of the land?
Okay, so again, we're mixing private ownership. So when given that area is no longer a country, your wishes should be respected over the land that you own privately. You cannot say that I live here and I own this farm, so I get to have an opinion about the empty land next to my farm. Okay, you get to have an opinion about the empty land next to your farm if this is if this is a nation state and you have a representative government that controls that empty land, and because this nation state's legal control over that empty land has now been recognized internationally, and the people here have voted that state to monitor this area, then your opinion regarding that empty land that is not yours privately should be respected, because we have a representative government of you that is controlling, that is managing this area, and your opinion will be respected through voting and everything like that. So it would be if somebody came over and take that land that is you don't own privately, because you have a nation state, if somebody comes and takes that would be an attack on your sovereignty as a nation state. But again, the Arabs then didn't have a nation state. The Ottoman Empire collapsed. It was an empire. And now the only wishes that need to be respected is your ownership over the private property that you have. What moral code or ethical code or what law would suggest that my opinions regarding the empty land next to my land that I privately own should be respected. Why should your opinion matter? There is no nation state, and you don't own that land privately. So what does that even mean?
Didn't the Arabs want their own nation state, but they were denied by Britain? Like Britain was controlling them, so they didn't have their own nation state, but they
no. Britain offered them. No. It's the other way around. Britain offered them a nation state. They denied it because Britain was also offering a nation state to the Jews. So they
wanted their whole land to be one nation state. Is what they would say, right? Like they didn't want.
The first offer they gave them is to give what was it? 5% to the Jews. Okay, and the rest was it? Wait, let me see. What was the? Was it 20? Was it 1090? Okay, 10% to the Jews and 90% to the Arabs. And again, remember, they were offering the Jews the areas where there were no farms, you couldn't grow anything.
But why should the Jews get any? Like they would say, it's all Arab land originally. Why should the Jews get anything? It's all ours.
Okay, why would they be correct? Why?
Because they're the residents. They're the original residents, right?
They're not the residents of the freaking empty lands. It's like in the middle of, like, if you have an empty land, you're the resident of the farm and if the villages that you have, that's your village. The home that you have, that's yours. How could you be if the Jews are coming into the empty lands where there's nobody there? You're not the resident. You cannot be like, oh, we're just close to there by proximity, so we get to have an opinion about that place as well. You're not a resident of the empty land.
After the collapse of the Ottoman Empire, should have the Arabs of Israel, like that land, shouldn't they have gotten their own nation state instead of being controlled by Britain, which allowed the Zionists to come? Like they should just say we should just our own thing.
Based on what law should they have?
Based
if you could make an argument, if you can make an argument for why they should have a land, then you could make an argument for the Jews to have a land as well there. I mean, there were Jews there, and also there were many Jews in the Middle East that they were being also driven away and attacked by, the Iraqis, the Lebanese.
So I think the percentage of Jews before the Balfour Declaration was like 6%.
Doesn't matter. We're talking. Okay, I don't care about people's ethnic identity. I care about people. Okay, I don't care about how long you have been living close to an area for me to care about your opinion. I want people to have a land where they could live in. Jews needed a land. This made a lot of sense. This was what, like, think about it. Like, we're talking about, right. If you're thinking about the right to self-determination, I think it individually, not as an Arab, not as a Jew. I want a right to self-determination as an individual, as a human being, right? So why should I care that if an Arab who is not building on an empty land, who's not living in an empty land, just because I am Arab, I get to say that the Jews who do not have a land don't get to come here, and this land that I'm not using at all, they don't get to create a nation state here just because I'm Arab and my father and my grandfather has lived close to this land.
So they would say, after the Ottoman Empire fell, we were 90% of the population. We wanted our own state, but then Britain took over and allowed the Jews to immigrate here and create their state. So we don't want that. We don't want these immigrants.
That's not your land. Okay, first. How are they saying this was our land?
Because we live on it. Do you think residency gives no right?
Okay, sure. I think I repeated myself multiple times. Okay. You don't live. No, listen. You don't live on the lands that you don't live on. You can't say we live in this village, but hey, in the middle of that desert there, or in the middle of that field there, miles away from us, that nobody's living there because it's close to us, we live there as well. You don't live there. There's nobody there.
Well, they would say they created a national identity.
No, when you say, but you don't have a national identity. So if you had a nation state, at that point you could come and say like, oh, the sovereignty of our nation state has been violated. You don't get to complain before you have a nation state. When you say my land, there's two ways that you can say my land. Either you own a land with private ownership, or you have a nation state or an empire, and you say that this collectively belongs to the citizens of this nation state or empire. Okay.
Well, so
but if you don't have an empire, if you don't have an empire, if you don't have a nation state, and if you don't own a land privately, then you don't get to say that this is my land, because we just lived close by it for generations.
They would say we don't have a nation state because of Britain. Like, we revolted against Britain to get a nation state, but they crushed us. So what can we do then? We were crushed by the British.
Well,
right?
No. Britain was giving you a nation state, okay? And then you refused to have a nation state because you wanted everything.
Yeah, because our people lived everywhere. They didn't. Why should they?
No, they didn't live everywhere. That's my point. They didn't live everywhere. They didn't. Most of the land was empty. They didn't live everywhere.
So I think the original offer is in 1936, right? That was when Britain gave.
No, the offer goes earlier.
Okay. Offers to the Palestinians. So I remember. So it was after the White Paper, after the Arab Revolt. Then there was an offer by Britain to Palestinians will get like 90%, and Jews will get like the coastal strip, I think. Or
no, there was the Peel one that was way before then.
Yeah, that was the Peel Commission. Yeah, correct. Okay.
Oh, and the Peel Commission. How much was? Oh, the Peel Commission was 1937. Okay, I have my notes here. Anyways, let's make this final point because there are more people waiting. But let me see. So Peel Commission, 1937, a very small Jewish state, a much larger Arab state.
But
what was the percentage?
Arabs wanted, like, why should the Arabs who lived in the Jewish area have to leave their home? Or why should they be in the Jewish state? Like,
nobody was leaving. Nobody was being forced to leave their home. Nobody was being forced to leave their home.
So
the only thing that made Arabs, the only people who made Arabs leave their home were other Arabs because they started the war. If the Arab countries who attack Israel didn't start a war against Israel, all the Arabs who had their homes living where they would just continue living where they were.
But what if they say, I don't want to be in a Jewish state. I want to be in an Arab state, which is my identity. Why should I be in a state for someone else's identity? Yeah, well, I mean, the Jews want to have a land. The Jews want to have a country. But wanting to have a land override my I'm on the land currently. Right. So.
There's no shoulds here. It's only what happens. And I'm happy it happened the way it happened. Okay. Because think about it. Like, forget about shoulds because there's no law in nature that makes any of these things like mandatory. Okay. I just look at the outcome and I think like, okay, if you get a nation state and they get a nation state where the Jews who don't have a country, who are being attacked all around the world for being Jewish.
Now why should they get a nation state on my place? Why can't they have a nation state?
Look, I'm talking about the utilitarian calculation. Okay, I just look at what's the outcome. What would have been the outcome that would make the highest number of people better off? If you're just saying like, well, nah, I don't want you to be here. Well, I mean, I don't give a shit. I care about people being able to live where they want, right? And living in their home without anybody forcing them out, and for Jews to have a nation state because the whole world is attacking them, right? That's the outcome. That's the desired outcome. And if the Jews came there and had a nation state in the land that the Arabs were not living in, right? Unless the Jews come and buy property from the Arabs, right? Other than that, if they just come there, then the Arabs would get to live in their homes peacefully, and the Jews will be able to create their own homes and live in them. That would have been an ideal outcome, and there would be nothing lost from anybody except the Arabs who are anti-Jewish and they just don't want to have Jews nearby.
Well,
right?
Are they anti-Jewish or they don't want a Jewish nation on where they live? Right? They just want their nation to be Arab nation.
They're anti-Jewish. They were anti-Jewish. They were killing Jews before Zionism was even a movement. Even there.
Okay. So now one more question. So wouldn't the best outcome have been if the U.S. allowed the Jews to go to America or Canada, and just allow the Arabs to create their own state?
Because those are already existing nation states.
Well, no, they didn't have to create a nation state for the Jews. Jews can just be Jewish immigrants in America, and they can just assimilate into America.
But Jews have experienced throughout history that every time they relied on another power to protect themselves, at some point things turned out against them and they were wiped out. So Jews have learned from history that they cannot rely on other power.
I feel like America's pro-Jewish historically, right? So
Germany was very pro-Jewish before Hitler came into power.
So you're saying U.S. will become Germany?
No, I'm not saying that will happen. I'm just saying that the Jews, given the amount of anti-Jewish hatred in the world, Jews should not take a chance.
So, okay, they need their own nation state. Okay. I wanted to ask you about one other thing. So you're very pro-Shah, I guess, for Iranian person. So how can you explain
Pro-Shah or pro-which Shah?
Mohammad Reza Shah, I think. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
Okay. So how do you explain that there was a massive revolution against that Shah if he was so like popular and doing all these reforms? Like he was obviously unpopular.
I don't know how popular he was. I look at his if he wasn't popular, it was because of misinformation, because everything about the country was improving rapidly, right? So I'm not saying he was popular. I don't know how. I don't think there is any reliable information that we have to know how popular he was at the time of the revolution. I do know, based on all the studies that have been conducted, that Iran was improving in almost every way.
Well, we know he was unpopular because millions of people protested, right? So there's so many people in the streets.
No, we don't know that, because the number of people who showed up in the street does not show the percentage of the people who were against it. You do understand, if you get a very, very determined 3% of the population that are revolutionary, you could fill the streets with unimaginable numbers, even with 3%.
But it's not just the 3%. Like broader society was.
I'm not saying it was just 3%. I'm just saying I'm not saying he was popular or unpopular. Maybe he was unpopular. I'm just saying the revolution itself is not a good way to measure that, right? And the revolution happened because of the Marxists had a revolutionary fetish. It was the age of revolutions around the world, and the Iranian Marxists, even though Iran did not have any reason to go through a revolution, it could have used some reforms, but not a revolution, because everything was getting better. Because of the Marxists were trying to Iranian Marxists were trying to copy other Marxists around the world. They had a revolutionary fetish, and they wanted to just copy. This was just a disease spreading mostly from the Soviet Union, unfortunately.
But do you think, if there wasn't, like, I think there was inflation and all these things, right? So if there wasn't so many problems, people wouldn't have
inflation. The inflation was because of economic growth. The inflation that we had was because of really fast economic growth. That's why we had inflation.
I mean, so there's someone in the chat saying it's like CIA, or it's so like. Do you not think the Iranian people actually want to do a revolution and they're all tricked, or do you think it's
I didn't say CIA? I think the person who's mentioning CIA is actually on your side, because when people say CIA, they're talking about the CIA coming in and supporting Mohammad Reza Shah against Mossadegh. So the people who mention CIA are against Mohammad Reza Shah. That's what they're saying. Usually.
So do you not think the revolution was an organic movement, or like there was actually?
No, it was not organic. No, I've actually covered this a lot, and I've been following this a lot. It was anything but organic.
Because I just disagree with this. I think most movements in the world are organic. I don't think like there's no conspiracy controlling everything.
I don't disagree with that. You said most. You didn't say all.
I'll give you an example. Like, I don't know if you know, like Ukraine, there was like a protest in Ukraine.
How about this? I need to get to other people.
Okay.
But how about this? Go look at Ali Shariati and the Marxists and the communists, and what the terrorist activities they were doing, and how they were trying to basically they weren't just revolutionaries. They were actually trying to completely collapse Iran as a country. They're against nationalism as a whole. They wanted to they were loyal to Moscow. So maybe go look into that and see the actual
quick points. Right? So one point is, even so, the ideologues are revolutionaries, but for way more people to join them and for them to be successful, something has to happen for more people to join them. So there's always going to be revolutionary ideologues. That's one.
Go look at
mass movement.
So the Marxists use the Islamic forces, the mullahs, to start spreading their propaganda using the network of mosques to the average people. So the Marxists picked up on, they took the universities, and the Muslim forces took over the mosques. So the Marxists were going after the elite, and the mosques were going after the average people. And they started spreading lies after lies after lies against Mohammad Reza Shah. And you wouldn't, if you go look at the propaganda, you wouldn't believe the things that they were saying about Mohammad Reza Shah. People actually believe that Mohammad Reza Shah uses bears in his presence to torture people. People actually genuinely believe that one of the prisoners was tied to a ceiling fan and was going around the prison, and there were Savak agents around the prison and raping the man as he gets to them while he was being swung by the ceiling fan. People actually believed in these stories. I'm not kidding. This is actually something people believe that Mohammad Reza Shah was doing with his Savak agents. So, yeah. So go look at the propaganda that was being spread, and go look at what people.
If he was more democratic, this would not have happened. Maybe, like if he had maybe allowed parliament.
No, Muhammad. Let me make this point, and then I need to go to Jewish Samantha. Okay, yeah. Muhammad Reza Shah was desperately trying to make the country more democratic. He was actually making that attempt. Every time he loosened it up a little bit, the country was almost being destroyed. Like he was shot. He survived an assassination, and he forgave the man that shot him. That's how democratic he was, right? That's how forgiving he was. He forgave the man that shot him. He set him free. He talked to him and set him free. He gave the right. First of all, we had a parliament. People did vote for their representative in the parliament. And Mohammad Reza Shah, for the first time, ahead of some European countries, gave the right to vote for women to participate in elections. They weren't able to before, ahead of some European countries.
But
Muhammad Reza Shah came to...
So
Muhammad Reza Shah was obsessed. No, he was not a dictator. He was trying to make the country more democratic. Muhammad Reza Shah was obsessed with making the country democratic. And he came to the conclusion that to make the country become democratic, I first need to work on education. So he was obsessed with building schools and universities. And at some point he came to he wanted to see Iran become democratic during his time. But he also mentioned that maybe this would be something that it would be my son's turn to carry this on. Like he didn't know how long this would take, right? So usually when you want to make a society democratic, you need to go through 3 phases. First, you need to make the country stable and build the infrastructure. Then you need to focus on education and culture. And then you start making the country more and more democratic. And the 3 Pahlavis were representative of these 3 phases. Reza Shah stabilized the country, brought security, and started building the infrastructure. Mohammad Reza Shah, his son, continued his father's legacy, but then he also focused a lot on education and building the culture. And his understanding was that maybe during the prince's time, Reza Pahlavi, his son, that time would be we could go and start becoming more democratically. Here's the thing, it's very rich from North Americans and European people, I'm not talking about you, to say like, oh, why aren't you not democratic? They don't look at their own history and see how difficult the process, how long it took them and all the bloodshed that they had to go through to become democratic. And then they come into the Middle East and they think like Mohammad Reza Shah should have just snapped his finger and the Reza Shah and Mohammad Reza Shah took Iran from the Qajar dynasty, which Iran was on the verge of absolute destruction and collapse. They built Iran and they did a miracle. They actually are responsible for so much progress. And people who don't know history and don't see how long it took Europe to become democratic, they're looking at these 2 kings who achieved so much in their time than more than almost any other politician or any other king, and they're sitting back and like, oh, why didn't you just snap your fingers and make it more democratic? As if it's that easy. They were going through so much progress. But
so India as a country became democratic even before it was educated. Like India was very poor and like uneducated and illiterate country, and it was still democratic. I'm not suggesting, I'm not saying that Mohammad Reza Shah was right or wrong regarding if this is what you need. Okay, I'm saying that he wanted to. I said that this is what his conclusion was. Maybe you're right. I mean, I actually tend to agree with you that you actually for the country to become democratic, you don't actually need high levels of education, right? But I'm just saying, what Mohammad Reza Shah's understanding shows to us is that he wanted to make the country democratic. Okay.
So you might disagree with him regarding what is needed to make a country democratic. Maybe you're right, maybe you're wrong. I don't know. We could talk about that. But what I know is that Iran at that time, so Mohammad Reza Shah got Savak to do a report to see what would happen if we just make everything free. And the report showed Mohammad Reza Shah, like the Savak came into Mohammad Reza Shah and said that if you make everything free, the country will become completely communist and we would lose half of Iran to, like a lot of Iran to the Soviet Union, right? And Mohammad Reza Shah was upset with Savak over that report. He said he was angry with them. He's like, what is this report? You guys just want to turn me into a dictator. That's what he said to Savak. Like he was hoping that the report actually shows that we're ready for democracy. So you might disagree with his method, but he was really eager to make the country democratic. Anyways, we need to move on.
Can I say 2 last things? Okay.
Yeah.
So one example is like Turkey,
Okay.
right? So Turkey had a dictator called Ataturk who was like trying to modernize the country and secularize it from the top, and now it's become Islamist again. So my point is, I think if you make things democratic, it makes progress more stable, basically. Like if you impose secularism from
you
the top,
you don't understand the situation that Iran was in back then. Maybe go look at what Mohammad Reza Shah was dealing with at that time in detail, to realize that he was trying to do everything, and he every time he tried to loosen things up, everything almost collapsed, right?
So just go look if he loosened it, maybe the revolution wouldn't have happened.
Nick, you keep saying this is the last point, but then you say something that I need to respond to, and then you respond to what I'm responding to. But just go look a little bit more. But I need to delay my next show because I want to make sure that Jewish Samantha here and other people who are waiting have a time to respond, to come up. Let me actually delay the next show a little bit because I have a show on my personal channel as well. Okay. All right, Nick, let's talk again. Sorry that I'm really enjoying this conversation, so I appreciate you saying all of this. Sorry I'm letting you go. It's only because I'm trying to respect other people here, okay? So I hope you come here and talk to me again, okay? All right, so I'm going to put Nick down. See you. Jewish Samantha, hi.
Hello, Armin. Oh my God, I am very nervous. Please be nice.
I will be nice.
Yeah, I love like your show. I love most of your ideas. I think that your idea for like what to do instead of a two-state solution is a horrible idea. I'm sorry.
Okay, don't be sorry. First of all, just Samantha, I appreciate you a lot. I love having you and as one of our viewers. And you don't need to apologize for disagreeing. This is a friendly disagreement, and it actually makes it interesting if we disagree. I don't see you as against me just because we disagree. Okay, we're on the same side here. Okay, so tell me what your disagreement is.
I think my biggest issue is the amount of de-radicalization it would take to make like a one-state solution viable. I feel like it's going to be way above the level of de-radicalization it would take to make a two-state solution viable. Like, I feel like a two-state solution is completely viable in a world where most Palestinians want to kill me. Like, I can live next to a Palestinian state where most Palestinians want to kill me, just as long as they want their kids to not live in a war zone more than they want to kill me. You know, well, it's like a one-state solution. I need Palestinians to be so de-radicalized that, God forbid, 2 million Jews in America suddenly need to flee America with absolutely nothing. They would be willing to take that 2 million into, the state, who are coming with absolutely nothing.
All right. So can I respond? Like, I want to make sure that you're okay. Yeah. All right. So first of all, when it comes to the one-state solution, I'm not talking about de-radicalization. I'm talking about not letting the future generations of Palestinians, so-called Palestinians, to become radicalized at all. I understand that de-radicalization is very difficult and very slow and almost impossible for many people in Gaza and the West Bank that have been radicalized. All right. So I understand your fear. Your fear is completely justified, and it makes sense. It's a very rational fear, right? But I am, and if I was in your position and I was relying on some of these people to become de-radicalized, I would not at all trust that situation. I'm like, there's no way I could trust that radicalization to get to a point where these people could live side by side with us. I'm talking about the children who haven't been born yet and getting in and not letting them be radicalized from moment zero. Like from the moment of birth, we step in and we do not let radicalization to take place at all for us to even have to de-radicalize them, right?
Yeah.
And regarding your point regarding two-state solution, you're saying I'm just okay with de-radicalizing them to the point where where they would want to not attack us because they just care about the children. The problem with that solution is that you might get that level of de-radicalization, but once you leave there and you lose control over that land, then it might go back to the level of radicalization that would actually want them to actually sacrifice their children. Many they will actually give birth to children.
Like, I feel like it's less likely to get back to that point once it's de-radicalized, because it's like I feel like, you know, the Israeli-Palestinian conflict is like basically a spin-off of the Israeli-Arab conflict. Like, it started with the Arabs being the stronger power. So, you know, they got to this radicalization from a conflict that started with them being the stronger power. Was to like re-radicalize them, it would have to go from a position of they're the weaker power now that Israel's like a nuclear armed country.
So here's the thing. As an Iranian who comes from a country that didn't have this level of radicalism during, and then all of a sudden it got all Islamically radical, right? So when you say less likely, would you want to take that chance? I mean, I don't know how. Here's the thing. If Palestine becomes an independent nation state, it will become a magnet for all of the world's radicalism.
That is true.
So let's say
that is definitely true.
Yes. So let's say we get Palestine to a point where it's not as radical enough for them to want to destroy Israel more than they want to see their children live. We get to that point, right? But now we make it a nation state. Now, because there is still enough people there that would want to destroy Israel, that will become the meeting, the hub. That will become the meeting place, the organization, the ground zero. Everything will basically be happening there. And the people who, even if you have now a whole bunch of people who just don't want to wipe out Israel, the fact is that there's going to be madrasas built, there's going to be shows, TV series, whatever you need, right? They're going to, I mean, these people are infiltrating schools in Canada and US.
Yeah.
What do you think? Do you think it's going to be difficult for them to re-radicalize Gaza once Israel doesn't have control over it anymore?
Well, I'm just thinking in terms of I need them to be de-radicalized to the point where like they just want to live more than they want to kill me. Like, I'm fine with
but then you could turn it. But then you could. Yeah, but my point is that even if you get to the point where you have de-radicalized them to the point that they just want to live, given that you're going to have the anti-Jewish focus of the world coming to this area to get it back to the level of radicalization that it was before, right? You're going to have a reversal. And if you say that's unlikely, again, just look at Iran. Like, it is, I think it's actually more likely. I mean, if back in Iran, back in 1978, if you ask people what are the chances of this land right now that is modernizing every goddamn day for it to become an Islamic theocracy one day, people would think you're crazy. What are you talking about? Iran? No way. But look what happened. So I think it's more likely than you think, and it's actually more likely for Gaza and the West Bank for this to happen to them. And even if it's unlikely, like how likely would it have to be for Israel not gambling with this chance? Let's say that the likelihood, I think the likelihood is high, like 80%, right? But let's say the likelihood is 5%. Do you understand that that's basically gambling with Israel's survival? Let's say, but you have lost control over that.
I feel like it's not risk-free what you're, insisting either. Like,
of course.
Like, I feel like that actually has a higher risk, to be completely honest. Because I'm just like, people are still going to be trying to radicalize them, even if they're Israeli citizens. People can still try to radicalize them as Israeli citizens.
But the difference is that Israel is there. Israel is monitoring. Israel has full control over that land now. So yes, obviously there's risk there too. People could be radicalized. I mean, some Arab Israelis who are citizens of Israel are radical right now, even though there's less radicalization among them compared to Gaza and West Bank, but it still happens. Yeah, but I'm just saying but I'm saying is because Israel is present, you have soldiers, you have police forces, you can monitor things, you control the education, you control the media.
Yeah.
It's just you have more control over the area. So
yeah, the way I say it is, I agree. I feel like it's harder to radicalize them if they're Israeli citizens in Israel than if they're like, in a country next to us. But I'm just like, even though it's harder to radicalize them if they're Israeli as opposed to like in a separate country next to Israel, we have like a much higher degree of radicalization that would need to take place before it's a problem if they're in an extra country, as opposed to like the degree of radicalization that would need to take place if they're, an Israeli citizen in Israel for there to be a problem.
Oh, you're saying because I don't know about that, because I think that we never. So there will be a problem, obviously, radicalization in the country.
I mean,
but I don't see like now, like, first of all, remember that these are children that grew up with a school curriculum and TV shows and media constantly teaching them how bad and evil anti-Semitism is from birth, right? So I think that the chances of these people and also the country is improving, the land is improving, everything is growing, there's hope for the future. I think actually if you start working on them from birth, they're even less likely to become radicalized than Arabs who are already Israeli citizens. I think so, right? But I don't think that level of radicalization in Israel is enough to basically collapse the country. Like, you might see attacks, you might see terrorist attacks, but you're not going to see something like October 7th, okay? Because October 7th requires, so if you have homegrown terrorism, you're going to see, like, again, this is evil and this is a tragedy, but I'm not trying to dismiss how bad this is. I'm just comparing it relatively. You're going to see stabbings in buses. You're going to see acts like that. You're not going to see, because for something like October 7th to happen, you need to gather a lot of arms. You need to build tunnels. You need to import a lot of weaponry. You need a lot of mobilization. You need a practice area. You don't even if you have radicals inside your country, if Israel has control over that land, you don't get to do any of that. You don't get to bring arms from the Islamic Republic and have underground operations and have training areas for you and create models of people's houses and practice all of these things. You get to pick up a knife and basically go do harm to some random people in a bus, which is a tragedy, but not even remotely close to something that can happen in October.
Okay, but what happens if they get de-radicalized? I mean, what happens if they get radicalized to the point where they're able to, like, cut back on some of the let's not be anti-Semitic, messaging, and then, it kind of goes from there with like more and more radicalization.
Which scenario you're talking about? The one-state solution?
The one where they're like the one-state solution. Like, what if they can get radicalized just to the point of like
no solution is perfect. No solution is perfect. We're trying to look for a solution that has the least harm. Okay. So I think some people who haven't been radical, they could become radical. Okay. Yes, sure. And they could do terrorist activities. I just think it would be much less, and it would be more manageable than having a base of operations right at the borders in an area where Israel has no control over anymore. I just think that that's a lot more dangerous. I mean, October 7th shows that.
When you mentioned like also taking kids away from their parents if like the kids are showing signs of like, wanting to be martyrs and stuff. I honestly think we could end up in a situation where we're taking a third of the children away from their parents if we do that. Like, I think it really could be that high.
Yeah, well, I mean, what else are you going to do? There's nothing else will work.
But like,
it's not going to be third.
I don't know if like.
You could roll it in phases. You don't have to do it right away, right? Like, it's not like, hey, we have a new plan. And from now, all of the children, you could like basically start with less intensity, right? So you could look for only extreme, like for the first wave of implementing these plans that I'm saying, you could only look for the most extreme signs of radicalization, right? And that's only the time that you will come and step in. And then once that becomes the new norm, then you will make it a little bit harsher. You make like more, so you don't come in one day and like, from now on, any kid that comes here and says anything anti-Semitic, we will immediately separate them from the parents. At first, it's going to be that it would be like if the kid comes in, I don't know, with a knife trying to hurt the the teacher because she was teaching something pro Israel, right?
Yeah.
That would be the first level, for example, right? So you could phase it in layer by layer until it becomes something that no parent will dare radicalize their children.
I don't know. I feel like power is corrupt, and I'm just gonna be honest. I'm not comfortable with Israel having this much power over the Palestinians in this situation. For that,
power is what?
Power is corrupt. Power corrupts.
Power is not corrupt. Power is what you need for control. Power is what you need for order. Power is what you need for stability. Israel is a peaceful place, a better place than most places in the Middle East because Israel is powerful.
Like
when you're on the right side, you want to have
in the West Bank. There's some really fucked up shit that some of those settlers are doing in the West Bank, like the Hilltop Youth people. And I'm like, if Israel can't do a good enough job, like cutting that stuff down, I don't feel comfortable having Israel in charge of like de-radicalizing people.
Yeah, I mean, then we need to improve in that area instead of just giving up, right? Like, because I think you could just improve.
But how do you improve? Because it's like most people very few people are willing to like criticize Israel in a way that's like actually, constructive, good for Israel, constructive criticism. Most people who want to criticize are like coming from that bad, like, oh, you guys are genocidal, like this is inherent to Jews existing or whatever.
Here's the thing. I don't Israel has proven historically that it does whatever is needed to survive, right? And when it comes to if it needs to, I mean, I don't know if this is the way that I'm suggesting, okay? But what I think is that if this is the way, maybe I'm wrong, maybe I'm right, but if this is the way, Israel will find a way. And it will do it because Israel has done more than most countries when it comes to protecting its citizens from harm. So whatever the way is, Israel will figure it out, and Israel will do it.
But that's the thing. When it comes to its citizens, Israelis don't view West Bank Palestinians and Gaza as their citizens. So it's like, part of it is I am worried about.
But if this is what's required to protect its citizens, that's what will happen eventually. Because they're not Israeli citizens, but if this is the path to protect the current Israeli citizens, then we will go down this path.
But that's the thing. I think, to be very honest, I think what's safest for Israel under this method and what's best for the Palestinians are very contradictory things. No.
What I'm saying is best. What I'm saying is best for so-called Palestinians as well. I'm suggesting that even if the current so-called Palestinians don't get to have a nation state, at least their children one day will. And at least their children, or maybe not their children, maybe their grandchildren one day. With my plan, their grandchildren will eventually get to be Israeli citizens with the right to self-determination and voting rights and equal rights. Again, the ones who haven't been born yet, right? So this is good for everybody.
But it's like people don't want to give the grandchildren of the people in Gaza citizenship. Like, I don't think most Israelis want to do this. Like, give them.
Yeah, they don't. They I understand. I understand why they don't want that. But we're talking about the people who haven't been born yet. But I'm not talking about Israel. If I'm not talking about the so-called Palestinians today, I'm also not talking about the Israelis today, right? I'm talking about Israelis' children and Israelis' grandchildren once they see a level of lack of radicalization in Gaza, and maybe
maybe you're talking about Israelis today trying to prevent radicalization. And
I'm talking about right now we're only building the first bricks of this massive foundation. I'm not talking about right now moving towards creating a one-state solution. I'm talking about just laying the first bricks so that we could one day look at this option. And if we just lay the bricks, and if we manage to create a new generations of people in Gaza who are not radical, maybe if Israelis today are not comfortable with the one-state solution, maybe the Israelis, much in 20 years or 30 years, once we look at the new generations of the people in Gaza, maybe they would be more comfortable with those Gazans.
I mean, because that's the thing. Like, at some point, it's going to involve, at some point it's going to involve a Gaza that's still very radicalized, that's got Israelis trying to like keep the next generation from being radicalized. And I just feel like that's a recipe for disaster when it's people who know, like, hey, once you de-radicalize, you're going to become citizens, and we don't want them becoming citizens.
Yeah, well, I see your point. I see your point. But you also like you also see. I don't. You maybe you're right. Okay, I think this is a good discussion to have, though, right? Like, I'm not saying I'm correct. I think this is a good discussion to have. And I see your point, but you also see my point, even if you think I'm wrong. But you say,
yeah, I mean, I feel like it's one of those things where there's no good solution here. So it's like we're just trying to figure out what's the least horrible solution.
Yeah, and I completely see why you are defending your position. It makes a lot of sense from and you might be right. You might be right. I just think that let's just let's just examine all of these options.
Even if like the Palestinians in Gaza were lovely people, like even if we like made them lovely people and they were all lovely, I just don't see most Israelis wanting the land in Gaza badly enough that they would be wanting to give all of them like Israeli citizenship and have them.
It's not about wanting the land. It's not about that land is like a tumor, right? Nobody wants that land.
Yeah, exactly.
So it's not about I mean, maybe religious people want it, but it's not about wanting the land. It's about controlling an area where threats are coming at you from.
But that's the thing. Again, if they were de-radicalized or weren't radical, then it's like they wouldn't be a threat. And again, it's like that whole.
But again, if you don't. Again, my response is that if you don't have control over that area, even if it becomes de-radicalized, it could go back to being radicalized, and it probably will. So if you make it a nation state, then you don't get to come back in and say like, okay, we have to come back in now because now it's an independent nation state. So you lose all legal rights.
Stopping Egypt from becoming radicalized again if we go that route? Like Egypt's on our border. I'm pretty sure most Egyptians still want to kill me today.
No. Egypt has a government that is completely anti-Muslim Brotherhood and completely anti any movement against Israel.
Yes, I'm sure most Egyptians would like to kill me if they could.
Yeah, but we have a government that is very hell-bent, very obsessed with trying to destroy getting Egypt into any war with Israel. So I don't know if we're going to have that in so-called.
Well, why can't we do the same?
We can't. We might. I'm not saying that won't happen. We might. We might. I'm not saying it could not happen. We might get lucky with Palestine. I'm just saying, do you want to gamble?
Well, that's the thing, because it's like, again, I see yours as like a gamble also, because it's like, yes, even though there's like it'll be harder to radicalize them if they're in Israel and Israeli, it's still like it becomes a problem sooner. Like it takes much less degree of like radicalization for it to be a problem if they're Israeli citizens.
I get so I already responded to this. I say like mine is less of a gamble because first of all, if you control that area, you cannot do anything like October 7th, right? Yes, people might get radicalized enough to pick up a knife and go stab somebody in a bus. Sure, yes, that's a problem, but they're not going to be able to get a base of operations that they getting funded from Qatar or Islamic Republic or all the other anti-Jews around the world to create a militia force to do something like October 7th, right?
October 7th involved getting over a wall on paragliders. If they're in Israel and Israeli citizens, there's no wall to have to jump over. Like they're next to me.
No, it wasn't. But it wasn't. It was no to get to build those paragliders, to practice with those paragliders, to do operations with them, to get the arms. That it wasn't just like, oh, hey, we have some paragliders. How about we tomorrow just go and just use them and do October 7th? It wasn't just they wasn't just lying around. That operation started way before October 7th. The management of it, the operations, the practicing, the arms. Like, yeah, sure. If the radicals Arab citizens of Gaza just happened to come by some arms and some paragliders just sitting around and a plan on what to do and just random chances of having enough skills to pull it off. yeah, that could be a problem. But I bet you that's not going to happen unless they actually have a base of operations to practice all of this and bring the arms and come up with plans and underground tunnels. Because like if the Hamas in Gaza, if they didn't have all these tunnels and all of these human shields, after October 7th, they would immediately be wiped out. So you also need a whole bunch of planning for what to do after the attack. So this operation took much longer. By the way, Jewish Samantha, people are dropping, so I need to go to next people or else I will lose it. But you see my point, right?
Yeah.
Okay. All right. So thank you. Jewish Samantha, come up again. We could continue this discussion another day. But this was really good. I think that was a very productive discussion. Do you feel like that too?
Yeah. Thank you.
Yeah, you're and again, I was nice, right? I was. You said
you were
like,
very
you were afraid
nice.
that
I'm a very nervous person.
Okay, that's okay. Thank you so much. That was a very healthy and nice discussion. I actually learned from it. Okay, so that's good. All right, so I'll talk to you later. All right, let's put Lisa down. Put Jewish Samantha down and put. So I see Lisa, the kid, and Axel. All right, guys. I don't know if I'm good. Nobody else shows up. Let me unpin. Before I bring Lisa up, let me unpin this. I should have unpinned this much earlier because I'm not going to get to my next show. All right, Lisa.
Hi, can you hear me?
So sorry. Yes, I can hear you.
It's so nice to meet you. I'm a huge fan of yours.
Oh, well, thank you.
And I love the flag. I hope it rises again.
Oh, what?
I really like your flag. I hope it rises again.
Thank you. That's so sweet. I appreciate that.
You're welcome.
Thank you.
So, I really wanted to talk about the Palestinians because my view on them is a bit more extreme. At the beginning of the war, I was feeling a lot more bad for them. I believed in ceasefires and two-state solutions. But I did see videos of them saying disgusting things about Jews and Christians and blacks and gays. And in a way, I lost all respect for them because they have proven time and time again that they will not live with Jews and Christians as their neighbors. They do not accept us. They will not share. They will not respect us. They will say they will do October 7th. Again and again and again. And in my opinion, there is no place for anyone in that world. And we need to stop being soft with them. We need to tell them, no, you cannot live next to us and vow to blow us up. You cannot do this to our people. This will not be tolerated. And so I really don't have a lot of respect for them. And I'm thinking when Hamas is defeated and the war is over, what are we going to do with them? What's your opinion?
Yeah, so that's what I was talking to Jewish Samantha about. So I obviously the amount of radicalization in Gaza and the West Bank is higher than even most Islamic countries.
Yeah.
Even compared to Islamic countries. And I'm obviously not going to talk about all of them because I know people in Gaza who are actually supporters of Israel. But I know they're a small minority, right? But imagine how brave that person is, right? Somebody inside Gaza being a secret supporter of Israel, right? So I don't want to talk about all of the people of Gaza. I know there are a few that don't think like this. So, but I understand that the radicalization is so large and widespread that for most of the people in Gaza and the West Bank, there is no fixing that, right? And
definitely not.
There is no fixing that. So that's why I think the only solution is to focus on the next generations of these people.
I mean,
not the current one.
I guess we can do that, but we can't do that unless it starts, and it doesn't feel like they even want to start, because we can look 40 or 50 years, but if we can't start now, we won't get there. And my concern is that we can destroy Hamas, we can destroy Hezbollah, we can destroy the terrorists, but what's to stop them from recreating new ones? And another thing, after October 7th, they manipulated the world so much to their advantage, and so many people feel bad for them and are sending hundreds of billions of dollars to them. And I'm really speechless. I don't understand how anyone can support a regime like this. It sickens me.
Yeah. So I'm not like you. I have no hope in them starting such a de-radicalization process. So I'm not going to wait for them. Like if it was in my if I had anything to say, and I don't, but my idea would have been to not wait for anybody and just go in and control everything, especially the media and the mosques and the education system, and just basically start working on the next generation. So when you say it wouldn't start, yeah, it wouldn't start if we wait for the people in Gaza or the West Bank for them to start. Like, yeah, like I'm talking about getting full control over the content and the education and anything that the generation that hasn't yet been born yet consumes. Complete full control. That's what I'm talking about.
True. I guess it's just like I've learned about wars, and a lot of other armies were not as merciful and were not willing to compromise. You know, when America was defeating Germany, whatever remained of the Nazis, they were forced to sign papers of surrender and forced to pay the billions of dollars. And I think Israel has been, in a way, far too merciful. I think that we cannot keep playing so nice. I think that we have to stop being so soft. I really don't think Israel should have gotten out in the Gaza Strip in the first place. And I honestly, in my opinion, think Israel should take it back, because at least Israel would take better care of it. And I still feel bad for the 10,000 Jews. I watched that documentary of them being forced out of their homes, and then days later their homes were all torn down. And I think that they should go back.
Yeah, the examples you're giving is at a complete other time where the standards in the world were different, right? So I don't think that would be. I think the whole world will turn against Israel if we go to that level, right? And also, even though the United States back then was, and the Allies were completely more brutal against the Nazis compared to what Israel is now doing in Gaza. The thing is
Israel
that
doesn't have to be that nice. They don't have to be. They never had to send in a single humanitarian truck. They never had to leave a single warning. They never had to take care of the people who were hurting. They never had to. The American army did not go to that extent to help the German civilians.
Yeah, but the thing is that as much as I see why you would say that, I think Hamas would benefit. I think Israel's government is smart enough to know that in the current situation, in this current war, I mean, even if you don't care about the moral aspect of it, strategically, Hamas banks on the suffering of the people in Gaza. Like, I don't think being more brutal would actually make the attacks on Israel less. I think Hamas constantly tries to poke Israel in a way that they are force Israel into taking more brutal actions in a way that more people in Gaza suffer, because they invest in the blood and the tears of the people in Gaza, and they grow from it.
That's true. At one point, I was concerned about what Israel should do with them. And I, at one point, thought that we should just kick them all out. And the reason why was because I do not I understand how I see them as very violent and dangerous and death cult extremists. They teach their kids how to kill people and how to blow up, and that it's good to murder Jews and to murder Christians. When I was growing up, I was told that murdering is evil. No matter who it is, you never murder anyone. I was told, you're going to grow up, live a great life, chase your dreams, get married to a wonderful person, have a beautiful family. They're just taught to die martyrs and shaheeds. And I don't think there's any place. I just can't see how Israel can keep living like this. I really don't see how they can. And, at what point do we, if you had neighbors who were living next to you and were threatening you and trying to hurt you and your family, when would you start taking action to protect yourself or to protect your family from your neighbors who are trying to threaten you and kill you?
Yeah, I agree with you that Israel should take all the actions necessary to stop this But obviously, I mean, Israel cannot go and kill 2 million people in Gaza, right? So obviously that's not
no, of course not.
Right. Of course not, right? So if people are suggesting that we need to stop playing nice, given that they are not going to be wiped out, that's not going to reduce the attacks. So I think whatever Israel is doing right now is actually the correct strategy. I know for people in Israel who have been attacked by many of these people, seeing Israel move more aid to Gaza than any country has moved aid into any war zone ever, and watching their government, and watching their government do more than any other country in the world to try to reduce civilian casualties.
The IDF really stands out.
Yes, but again, that's what you're protecting. So I know sometimes people in Israel get angry, like, why are we protecting these people? But that's what you're protecting. You're protecting your superior values. I mean, Israel. Why is Israel worth protecting? Israel is worth protecting because it stands for something much greater. We don't want to in the process of eliminating our enemies. We don't want to become more like them, because terrorists could win in two different ways. Terrorists could win by hurting you and harming you and killing you, but they also can win by just making you just a little bit closer like them. And I think Israel is fighting two wars. Israel is fighting a military war, but it's also fighting a war of values, and it's demonstrating how different it is from those terrorists.
You're right. Honestly, I never would have thought about it, because, of course, the IDF doesn't want to be Hamas. The IDF is a moral military and a defensive military. I guess I feel more extreme, because if a person is saying, I want to kill you and your families, I take it seriously. Right. And I would go to every extent to protect my family and my friends. And, I'm not in Israel, but I have family and I have friends in Israel, and I'm deeply concerned for their safety. I know a few IDF soldiers, and one of them is in combat all the time, and I'm deeply concerned for him. And I know that he's so brave and strong and selfless, but he has a family and he has a lot in his life to fight for, and I don't want them to lose this person. And so it just really, really breaks my heart when I see IDF soldiers having to get involved with this, and the fact that the world has a way of turning against them and being so hateful and not actually thinking what it is to be in war, what it is to be a soldier, to understand war crimes, to understand history. I'm disgusted, because I'm American. I'm disgusted, quite frankly, with the West's behavior and their attitude. Like, they don't realize how much, and that's the biggest problem I have, because since I feel they're very dangerous, the messages that they pose is very dangerous. If you see videos of the United States and you see the pro-Palestinians, you see how dangerous they are, how violent they are, how anti-Semitic. They destroy things, they kill people, they take over buildings, and they don't realize how much danger they're in by supporting a terrorist organization. And if Israel would to just annihilate them, they would be doing the world a huge favor.
Annihilate what?
I guess Hamas firstly, because that Hamas is the answer to the destruction of the West. And I do not want to see my country of the United States turn into a Islamic third world country, giant Palestine with Sharia law. I don't want that. And I'm so angry when I see people supporting these just because of the amount of deaths that they see, and they blame Israel for the death of the children. And you've seen their propaganda where they take pictures of babies who have genetic abnormalities, and they say that Israel starves them and tortures them and burns them. And it really just makes me it really makes me just want I don't know. It really makes me want to go into their faces and just scream at them because I'm disgusted by their anti-patriotism, their pro-Hamas propaganda, and I can't stand it. And I feel like that's why I want to take more extreme measures because it has to stop. It has to.
But yeah. So yeah, your frustration and anger is all justified. The only thing I would say that might help is just remember Israel has faced this and much more throughout its history, and Israel lives. Israel lives. Israel has gone through so much more challenges, and has always come out winning every single time against all odds.
Right. I guess it's just that when Israel has offered land for peace, I really feel like our enemies, they don't see it as we want peace, we want to be friends with you. They see it as being able to take advantage of us because of all these lies and all these pretend signatures that they actually care and they actually want peace when they don't, and that they can manipulate Israel and manipulate the Jews into giving them what they want. And I think that's why it's like, in a way, I see right through them. They might be smiling and shaking hands on camera, but they're really not. They're dangerous, violent, hateful, and I don't want them to continue to do what they've been doing. And I guess I just really have no acceptance for that. And I can't stand just all this, because the Palestinian stuff, it's just the victimhood. The victimhood is all they've got. That's it.
Lisa, the kid is about to leave, and he's been waiting for a long time.
I'm sure he has.
So Lisa, can you come back again, because this was a very good talk. Okay. So
I would love to. It was a pleasure to meet you. Thank you for having me.
Thank you, Lisa.
Thank you very
amazing.
much.
Okay.
Bye.
Thank you. Bye. Okay. Guys, I know I have 2 super chats. I will read the super chats. Sorry, the kid. I know that you've been waiting forever. Lisa was just amazing. It was hard to let her go, but
I heard it. It was a great conversation. Listen, man, I know you're here for debates, but you're getting so much love, and I'm just here to share more love. I love you, man. I really love you.
Thank you.
I've been listening to you, I think, like a year and a half after October 7 and everything. I'm Israeli, so hello from Israel.
Thank you, man.
Much love from Israel. Listen, I have to tell you a really short story about my first time meeting Iranians. I came back from Japan. My first time living, I was in Japan. I think it was back in 2016, and I stopped at Frankfurt to go back to Israel. And I had like 5 hours of connection flight, like waiting for a connection flight. I was like, okay, I'm at Frankfurt, Germany. I need some beer. I need to find a bar. So I was looking for a bar in the entire Frankfurt airport. It took me an hour, and I finally found it, and it was just next to the Iranian gate. And I'm like, my God, you see like tons of Iranians and just like one tiny bar, and I'm like, what should I do? Okay, I'm thirsty. I need a beer. I need a beer, man. So I'm sitting there, and there's 3 Iranians talking to each other. They're all like age 40, 50, 60, and they're all talking to each other. And I'm like, hey, man, where are you from? And I'm like, I'm from Israel. You're from Israel? You got big balls. We love you. And listen, that was one of the moments I had a blast talking with them. It was one of the first time, because we Israelis always thought that Iranians hate us and they think we're monsters and everything. And the amount of love and the amount of like just having a real conversation that opened my eyes. And yeah, it was amazing.
That's amazing. I'm so glad to hear that. I'm so proud of those Iranians that talk to you like that. I'm so glad that they represented us well.
They are here in my heart ever since I met them once, and it was enough. It was enough, man. Really.
Oh my God.
I'm ever since October 7, I have been talking to Iranians who live in Germany, who live in Switzerland, and I'm deeply feeling. Listen, I'm quarter Iranian myself. My grandma fled Iran, before the Shah, but it was hard for her, and she didn't want to talk about it. But I do feel connection, and
I think this is one of the most important connections right now in our history. I think I might be biased because I'm Iranian and I also love Israel, so you guys could take my bias into account. But I really think that the bond between the nation of Israel and the nation of Iran is the solution to many of the problems in not just in the Middle East, but also in the world. I think our unity could, to fight against this evil right now, I think this bond is a very important thing for us to keep working on. So that's something I'm trying to do, by the way.
I agree with you totally. This is also something that I wanted to come up and ask you because, listen, we all know the Ayatollah is done for. We all know it's going to happen. I'm optimistic, feeling it's going to happen. Listen, 2026, me and you in a bar in Tehran. I'm going to meet you there. I'm going to see you there. I'm going to have a drink celebrating.
What year?
2026, man. 2026.
Oh my! I don't know. I don't know. So I don't know.
It will happen. It will happen. Inshallah.
I don't know.
But I do have a question because what do you think? Because I think our next, I'm not saying it's like our next target, but our next biggest problem right now is Turkey and Qatar. How do we deal with those? Because Qatar is just giving, they have a problem, money. Another problem, money. How can you deal with it? With this, it's crazy.
I actually think that if the Islamic Republic falls, okay, and when it falls, I think the biggest problem is Pakistan.
Really?
I think Qatar. I mean, Qatar is a big problem, and so is Turkey. But I just think that they are too involved right now with. I mean, Turkey is part of NATO, and Qatar is now, as a major ally of the United States. And as much of a problem they are too invested in the global order for them to want to go completely against it, right? They when they have to, they will play nice. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
They're not going to do. So the Islamic Republic is fully invested in toppling the world liberal order in a way that Qatar and Turkey will never, right? So again, I'm not saying they're not problematic. They are, but they're not an existential risk to Israel, or they're not in favor of more. They don't do chaos for the sake of chaos. They're not in. They do want order, right?
Yeah, they don't want. Listen, it's not that they don't want chaos, but they are radicalizing. Qatar specifically are radicalizing, and if you were talking about Turkey, the problem is that Turkey is being radicalized as well, and I've been to Turkey multiple times, and the changes are very in your face. You can see it. You can see the people have been tolerant to Jews and Israelis, and little by little, it's been somewhat just losing patience.
I completely agree with you that they are part of the problem. I'm not going to fight with you there. I'm just saying that the level of risk is not even remotely close to what the Islamic Republic is, right? I mean, the fight against them is not going to be a military battle. It's going to be a political battle. You know what I mean? We're not going to...
I'm not sure. Listen. Specifically with Turkey right now, yes, I agree with Qatar. It's not going to be a military battle because we will decimate them. But it's not like we will just start to attack them out of nowhere. But with Turkey, it is a little bit getting a little bit more problematic with Syria in the picture, which is like when they're trying to take over Syria. And
yeah, I mean, Turkey, if it gets involved, Turkey will. I mean, Turkey is now desperate with Syria. Turkey is desperate to stabilize Syria right now. So they are not looking. They might speak ill of Israel, but they are trying to get their proxies in Syria to not to attack Israel in a way that will give Israel the reasons to just come into Syria more. Right? They have. So here's the difference. Turkey uses ideological weapons for economic interests. It's not like the Islamic Republic where the ideological goals are the actual purpose. You know what I mean? So so the Islamic Republic uses economic power for ideological goals. In Turkey, they use ideological power for economic goals. Right? The actual goals are economic and political and economic, right? So they're not going to get into yes, they would use some proxies as levers of powers against Israel when they need to, but they're not into just causing war for the sake of war and for the sake of destroying Israel. They have no interest in destroying Israel. They're just doing a political calculation. They're competing with Israel regarding their interest around the region. They're not interested in wiping out Israel off the map. Like
I think that when I'm saying Turkey, we do need to establish that we are talking about Erdogan, because he right now he is a dictator. I know a lot of people think he is a legitimate democratic person. No, he is a full-on dictator. He just lately put one of his opponent in prison for allegedly terrorist affiliations, which is freaking absurd.
For talking to the very same people that he's now talking to.
Exactly. Yes.
Yeah.
I mean, this is insane. But I think the problem with Qatar is it's a deeper problem, because if Turkey would, I don't know, oust Erdogan, this is going to be like a less of a problem. I think maybe, I don't know, maybe somebody worse would come up, but right now it doesn't look like it. But Qatar, I think, is the ideology that they're trying to spread, and they're buying little by little, because I have seen them buying, multiple sport agencies, buildings in London, in the United States. They are spreading quietly, and they are trying to radicalize people quietly into the idea of Islamic political Islam, which I say that's the major problem we have right now.
Well, actually, Qatar is basically pulling all the levers. Like, they're not moving in one direction. Okay, they don't. To me, it seems like they don't have any ideology themselves, because they're investing in everything. They just want to have influence everywhere, media and educational influence, and they actually support opposing extremist sides against each other. Like, they just want to be. They're a tiny country that has gained a lot of political influence by just investing in so many different influences all around the world, and they just seem to be themselves. They seem to be empty when it comes to ideology, because I mean, right now they are supporting in the United States, they're funding a whole bunch of people who are woke, but now they're also supporting a whole bunch of people who are far right. They just want to be present everywhere, and they think that using this is because they don't have much of a hard power. They don't have the way to defend themselves as a small little country is by having soft power everywhere from all sides.
But
that's
is also
their defense mechanism.
This is also the problem, because right now what you're seeing is Tucker Carlson and Candace Owens and all those cuckoo for Cocoa Pops people just talking shit about Israel and Jews, even not just Israel. And this is becoming a very major problem. And they have millions of followers, and they are not. Listen, I'm not saying we know that Tucker Carlson is paid by Qatar. We don't know if Candace Owens is. That said, it is weird that basically out of nowhere they're starting to talk about Israel like it's and they're satanic and they're evil and they're just like this and that. So I'm afraid. Listen, I have family in America. I'm afraid that this is going to escalate to a major problem where Jews cannot live outside of Israel. I'm in a difficult position from saying on one way, come to Israel, live here, and on the other hand, I'm saying if you will leave, the problem is, Jew hatred will just skyrocket, and also it just shows that we lost, and we gave in to extremism. Don't you think?
I mean, you haven't lost if you have Israel. You won.
No, but
I mean,
we lost if we were just. This,
anti-Jewish hatred is ancient, right? And
yes,
this is like thousands of years old. And if you zoom out a little bit, you'll see that you have won. This is the first time the Jews have their own right to self-determination. So the anti-Jewish that you're seeing right now, that's nothing new. That has been there. That is the most ancient and the most deep-rooted hatred in the world. What is new is Israel as a country, as an independent country that is not part of an empire. It's its own independent Israel. So you haven't lost. You have won. You have won majorly. Just look at it a little bit more long term.
Okay, I agree with you. What you're saying. Listen, before October 7, I traveled the world, like I told you, like Japan, America, so many places, and Australia. I've seen a lot of people. I've connected with a lot of people. I assumed that Jew hatred was not an issue anymore. That anti-Semitism is yes, it exists, but it's not like prevalent like what. And after October 7, I mean specifically October 8, something broke inside of me. Something like this idea of lovey-dovey world broke. And the reality just shattered in. I mean, how did you see it from a non-Jewish perspective? That moment, you were surprised?
Before no. I mean, obviously, I was surprised by the October 7th, but I wasn't surprised by the level of I told people, because a lot of people I used to come to our shows and say that, oh my God, look, their level of anti-Semitism with these group of people, and like, guys. I always tell people, you guys don't know that there is a deep layer of anti-Semitism in all of your groups, waiting for the right time. I said this before October 7th. I know that these exist. I mean, people just look at the surface level of the conversations that we have right now on the internet, and they don't see this was not created on October 7th. This existed, waiting for the right time. And it's always there. It has always been. It goes up and down, but it's always waiting for the right moment to come and strike. We're going to be dealing with this for a very, very long time. So this is a long fight.
Yeah, I agree with you. And it is very disillusioning. I know. I go to Axel Hall. I just wanted to say one more thing. I do some AI music on my Instagram channel. Yeah, and one of the songs I just wanted you to know. I put a link here if you want, called "Fatwa on the Ayatollah," and I think you're gonna like it.
Where did you put it?
I'll put it right now. You can go to Axel. I'll just put it in a second, and you can listen to it when you want. I have a ton of songs. I did one on Greta Thunberg as well.
You put it in the private chat or in the live chat?
I'll put it in the private chat. I'll put it.
Okay.
Fatwa.
Thank you. And then after that, I will go to Axel.
No problem. Fatwa D. Yeah.
Okay.
Okay. I'll put it here. You can go to Axel. Listen, men, it was so good to talk to you. Really, so lovely. I will follow you, keep following you, keep talking, keep like really our brotherhood between Israelis, Jewish people, and Iranians are so strong, so strong. You do not understand even how many people here are rooting for the Iranian people, loving them.
Thank you. I appreciate that, man. I hope I talk to you again.
You will.
Okay, sounds good. Thank you. All right, talk to you soon then. That's
talk to you soon.
Talk to you soon. We're rooting for you guys too, by the way, from Iran and everywhere else.
I know, man. I know. Thank you very much.
Thank you. All right. Okay, let me bring Axel. Hi, Axel. Can you? Sorry for waiting for so long, but can you make it short because I've delayed my other show twice now. Sorry.
Yeah, sure. I mean, obviously, so I guess to keep it quick, I am Palestinian, and I disagree with basically everything that you've said. I don't know you. I've just been listening for the past hour. I think there's been a lot of misinformation, and I think a lot of your fellow interlocutors are clearly out of their depth on this topic, which is fine. Not everybody needs to be an expert.
Right. By the way, can I put you on the screen while you talk? I'm just going to go take a washroom break, but it's Bluetooth, so I'm listening. Okay.
Yeah.
I'm just going to the washroom. Okay.
Yeah.
Just keep talking. I'll be right back.
Yeah. So, I guess my main gripes with some of the things that you said, I think you just kind of skim over history and throw out some buzzwords, which Palestinians are usually accused of, without really providing any evidence or really digging through the matter. So I know you're in the washroom right now, but I guess one of my questions for you is, if you were presented with irrefutable evidence for something that you stated, are you the type of person that is able to recognize, yeah, I was wrong, you're right, and move on to the next topic? Or are you just so 10 toes down into your ideology or whatever you believe in this topic, where you're not willing to actually change your mind on these topics?
Well, I actually am famous for changing. Well, not famous. Well, I'm known among my audience here on this channel for changing my opinions a couple of times based on what they told me in the chat. And I actually brag about it. I actually have a Google Doc listing the things I changed my mind on. And I'm proud of how big it is. I see it as a badge of honor to be able to change my mind on something.
Okay, that's good to know. So
but if you provide me evidence and I don't agree with it, I hope you don't see that as a reason that I actually would love to. I actually should brag about it, and I would like to demonstrate to people that I changed my opinion. So even if you're right and I'm wrong, if I refuse to accept it, is because I did not understand, or maybe you're smarter than me. It's not because I am trying to. I'm actually desperately always trying to show that I can change my opinion. Okay, so maybe I didn't. Yeah, maybe I disagree. My disagreement is not necessarily a reason that I'm refusing to change my mind. Okay.
Yeah, and look, we can argue about this for hours, but I need to run, and I know you need to run, so I'll keep it on one topic, very short.
Okay, thank you. And can you come back next time as well, because I think we're gonna have good discussions.
Yeah, I mean, I have like 8 to 10 hours of debate on YouTube with Destiny. I don't know if you know Destiny. I've argued with him on this topic.
Yeah, I've debated Destiny.
Yeah, I have like hours with him on this topic on when he first started studying.
Can you email me? We could arrange longer discussions just between you and me. Okay. Let me actually put my email. Like I'm gonna listen to you right now, but my email is armin.navabi@gmail.com.
Can you type it Can you type it in the private chat here? And I'll just screenshot it. I'm on my phone.
Okay, hold on. Let me remove this banner. And then also, I will. Okay, you keep talking. I will write that for you. Okay.
Okay, yeah. I guess my thing is when it comes to a nation state, what do you believe a nation state is, and how is one established?
Okay, let me see. Okay, here's my email. Okay. So a nation state is a combination of a nation and a state, a nation represented by a state. Okay. So a nation is a group of people that have some enough shared characteristics for you to build an identity out of it. And then that nation, if they have a state that is a reflection of those people, and it is representing those people and is managing the land occupied that people, the combination of that nation and that state becomes a nation state. And for you to officially turn this nation state into a recognized nation state, if you have enough other nation states, and again, the definition of what enough is could be disagreed. We could argue that forever. But then if you have enough nation states recognizing that nation state as a nation state, then you officially now have a nation state.
So there's something
that's the whole, and that's the point of the United Nations, because right now based on the definitions that we're working with, most people will consider a nation state when it's officially recognized by the United Nations as a nation state.
Okay, sure. So there's one thing you're missing from your definition, and that is borders.
But that was good.
Right.
But that was good, right? Like that was not that bad. It
was fine for in layman's terms. Sure. Borders is also obviously critical to have a nation state. How are you going to have a nation if you don't have established borders, right? You have to kind of tell us.
Well, I did mention the land that they're in, right? So yeah, but yeah.
Okay. So do you believe Israel has borders? And when I say do you believe, do they tell us what their borders are?
Well, okay, so the disputed borders doesn't make you not a nation state. Do you agree with that?
Wait. When you say disputed, that means two sides disagree on where the border should be. My question to you is, Israel has never told us where they think their border should be. You understand that? It's not disputed borders.
No. Israel recognized the borders that is now officially recognized under. The borders are like, what do you mean? Like, do you want me to draw a map for you?
No, you tell like green. Are you talking like the Green Line? Are you talking including the West Bank and Gaza Strip? Are you talking like what are the borders of Israel today?
No, Israel doesn't consider that part of Israel right now.
Okay, so you acknowledge that anything in the West Bank is not a part of Israel, correct?
Yeah.
Okay.
Not right now. I hope one day it will be.
Yes, I am sure.
But not right. It's right.
Yeah. So they also quote unquote annexed the Golan Heights. Is Golan Heights the Golan Heights a part of Israel proper today?
No, annexing doesn't mean that it's part of your country, officially part of your country right now.
Okay, so it's not a part of Israel, correct?
Not right now. One day, hopefully.
What about Jerusalem?
Jerusalem, I have East Jerusalem, or Jerusalem. Yes, Jerusalem, yes, but not the. Sorry, not the. I think there's
Temple
a part
Mount?
where that's officially under Jordan's control. I have to look into the details, but I'm sure they're official.
Okay, so there's a reason why this sounds arbitrary, but there's a reason I'm leading with these questions. Now, a nation state needs to, again, you had told a caller earlier, well, Israel was rightfully established in 1948, right? The UN voted and there was a partition created, right? And then the nation state was created, essentially, right? They had their borders, they agreed on whatever, the war happened, great. Now, when there are new votes for a Palestinian state to be created, would you consider that a nation state?
Yeah, I mean, if Palestine gets to, I'm against Palestine becoming a country, but if it becomes a country, then I accept that it's a country, like it becomes a nation state. Like obviously, if we get to a position where United Nations is now recognizing Palestine as a nation state, I'm not going to come and say like, nah. I'm
okay,
like, I'm
so
say,
when you say the United
unfortunately,
Nations, like you're saying like the General Assembly, when there's like a vote by countries and they agree that Palestine should become a
I
state.
mean, yeah, that's what we're trying to prevent. But
no,
obviously,
it's already
if it
happened.
happens, I'm not going to.
It already happened in 2012, right?
No,
There was
it's
already
not
a vote.
officially. The United Nations hasn't officially recognized the Palestine as a nation state.
They recognize Palestinian as a non-member observer state, so they can't vote, right?
Yeah, but not but not a nation state. But
okay.
not a nation state.
Okay, hold on. So you want to prevent? You're saying you want to prevent Palestine from becoming a country, right?
Well, I can't. I have no power.
But you rather not see it become a country.
I'd rather the people in Gaza and West Bank to be part of Israel.
I think there should be one state as well. I'm not gonna, quarrel over the name of that state. But you want
whatever. It to be Palestine.
No, I want it to be for whatever the people that live in that new nation want to call it.
So would you object the name Israel?
Absolutely.
Would you object the name Israel?
If I'm not living there, I shouldn't have a say in what it's named. Let the people vote what they want to name it.
So we seem to be in agreement then. What's the disagreement?
I mean, the disagreement is I don't believe that we should be kidnapping babies because we, don't like their what they believe in. But anyway,
No, that's not what I said. That's not what I said.
It's kind of
kidnapping babies.
More or less what you said.
No, that's a strong. Come on, this was such a good discussion. Why are you strawmanning me? I am. If like okay, so like in the United States and Canada, I know like if a parent is making their kid join a cult or like
what defines the cult?
Children.
Who gets to decide who is the arbiter of what
you're not you're not even making me make my point, right?
Okay, go for it.
I'm just saying there's precedent for maybe you're right that I'm going too far. We could argue that, but I'm just saying separating children from their parents for bad parenting. We have child services coming in, and separating children from their parents in Canada and United States all the time for different reasons.
Sure.
We don't call that kidnapping.
See, so but that's if not you want to argue
that maybe you're right. You're right. Maybe you could argue that I am too extreme for what I suggest for when I think child services could get involved, but categorizing that as kidnapping, I think it's unfair to what I'm suggesting.
The reason why I call it kidnapping is because you're not saying, hey, in this new country, if there is a human or a citizen of this country who is, whose parents are having their child be violent in any way, we should take them. No, you're specifically using the solution for Palestinians, not for the Jewish Israelis, specifically for Palestinians. It's like saying, hey, let's have child protective services only for Black people in America. If they start acting out,
I'm happy to add this. I'm happy to add this for all of. First of all, I was talking about the time where this area, Gaza and West Bank, hasn't become Israel yet. That's what But also, I'm okay applying this. If you are a Jewish family in Tel Aviv and your kid comes to kindergarten and says that, oh, my parents tell me that we should kill Arabs wherever we find them, I'm okay with the government.
This doesn't sound like a radical idea. This just sounds like you're talking about general child protective services in the country, right? That's all that is.
Right. But that's how radical people in Gaza are. If you apply general child protective services to Gaza, even if you just apply the general standards that we have right now in Canada and United States, in fact, more kids will be separated from their parents than I'm even comfortable with to start with. Because of the level of radicalization.
Wait, aren't Israel so as far as from the polls that I've recently seen, somewhat 70 or 80%, or actually maybe even more percentage of Israelis believe that Palestinians should be expelled from Gaza, or 47% believe that killing them we don't need to warn them, we can stop humanitarian aid completely. Those seem like people that need some child protective services as well, in my opinion.
There's a difference between saying that our country is doing, which I disagree, by the way. I think Israel is doing a good job. Israel is Israel is right to try to provide more aid for people in Gaza, and it's right. Israel is doing the right thing to try to reduce civilian casualties in Gaza. But if an Israeli says that, oh, our government should do less to provide aid to people in Gaza, or should do less to try to save their lives, that's different from a child saying we should hunt down Arabs wherever they are. And again, I'm trying to not get censored on YouTube, and do you know what with them? Okay, that's a different thing. But again, I'm completely okay with applying the same standard. If a Jew comes to a kindergarten and says, "My parents say that we need to go choppy on every Arab wherever we find them," I'm like, "Holy shit!"
We don't need to get extreme on like murder. It's not the only thing, right? So if for example, a Palestinian child says, "I want to get all of the Jews outside of this land," should they go to Child Protective Services? Should they be taken away?
No, that's not enough. No.
Okay, so it's okay to say that we want them gone. It's just
I'm not saying it's okay. No, I'm not saying it's not.
Okay. It doesn't meet the threshold. It doesn't meet the threshold
of separating a child from their parents. Yes, it doesn't meet the threshold. That's an extreme. I understand how extreme my measure is, so I want to keep it for only extreme situations, right?
It doesn't sound extreme.
If an Arab kid says like, "Oh, I think Jews should leave this land," and I ask them, "Well, should we hurt them to leave this land?" They're like, "Nope, they should just leave." I mean, I disagree with them, but I don't think that's a level that you need to now come in and separate this kid from their parents.
Okay, but if we tell them we should starve them until they, anytime we say we should starve everybody in an area of a certain race, if the majority of the population thinks we need to starve them, do you think that's something that meets the threshold?
So there's first of all, if you say starve them because of their race, yeah, that does meet the threshold. Okay. But if you say that we should stop providing aid to them because why is that our responsibility, then that does not meet the threshold.
Okay.
Again,
so
I disagree with
there
that.
are reasons. Wait. Okay. Not you, but you're saying that there is reasons to want to starve. It's okay that Israelis feel like there's reasons to starve children. That's what you're saying. There is.
Did I say?
No, not you. Not you. I'm not saying you're saying this. I'm saying, do you acknowledge that Israelis think that there should be no humanitarian aid going into Gaza? Yes or no? Do you believe that they're saying that?
Yeah, I've seen the polls. Yeah.
Okay. And does that translate to, again, same polls? Does that translate to we have a reason to starve children? There is a legitimate
not all Israel. But
those specific Israelis.
Those specific. First of all, let's acknowledge Israel is a big country with many different opinions.
Yes,
okay?
yes, and so the 50% that believe.
No, but what's your question?
Do you think that those people should be separated from their children if they're teaching them things like are legitimate reasons to starve children?
What is the child specifically saying that their parents said to them? What is the specific thing?
They go to school and say, I think we need to starve, Jews, for whatever reason. We need to starve their children. Is that something that's whoa, that's kind of weird? Yeah. There's no reason to starve children.
Yeah, but that's not what okay. So yes, that is extreme. Those parents need to have a child services. If you're saying not because they attacked us, if you're
irrelevant,
and also listen. If you say that you need to starve them because of their ethnicity, yes, that's a level of extremism that I think child services need to get involved. But if you say that why are we doing so much to protect the people who attacked us, you're not talking about we need to starve them, but you're saying, I know the consequences are the same, but the language matters here, right? There's a difference between somebody saying,
"Wait, no, come on." You're playing with words. If you trap somebody in the room and don't allow any food in, that's
words
called
matter.
starvation.
Axel, no, yeah. Words matter. We're talking about child psychology. So the words that are coming out of their mouth, if they're different, they indicate different things, right? If I have two children in front of me, one of them says that we shouldn't provide aid to these people that attacked us, and the other one says we need to starve these Arabs, even if the consequences are the same. There are two different things happening here. Do you understand the difference between these two children?
Okay, so you're right. Yeah. So saying I'm going to murder somebody and I want them to have as little oxygen as possible is different language. One sounds worse, even though the result is the same. It makes the other one, we can give them a pass on that. Look, I don't want
the results. No, we're talking about children. Okay,
exactly.
We're not talking about what are the consequences of putting this child's opinion into practice. We're talking about the words that are coming out of this child's mouth, and what does that show about the environment at their home, and what the parents are telling about to these children. Okay, so yeah, you could talk about, like, Armin, why does this matter? Because the consequences are the same. I'm talking about the psychological impact regarding the myth that we could conclude from the type of words that are coming out of a child's mouth. This child, obviously, is not the IDF, it's not the prime minister, it's not a policymaker. As a child psychologist, if I'm interviewing this child, I'm just trying to understand the environment that this child is at home, okay, is in when it's at home. I'm not trying, as a child psychologist, I'm not sitting here like, oh, let me see what will happen if we apply this child's opinion of this war into policy. That's not what I'm trying to discover. So yeah, the words matter.
Okay, let's hit on two more things before I go. I need to run. We can continue this in more depth later. We can go through the entire history. One is, you said yourself that you think that Israel should have not stopped the humanitarian aid and should have continued pushing in aid, right? That's your stance.
Yes, as much as it's possible without aiding Hamas. So there was
which is kind of an impossibility. Okay, sure.
No. They actually managed to find the better ways, right? So sometimes they put a pause on it, and they find a different way. So if you're talking about, I don't think that there is no reason for any pause ever. I think if the pause is to reevaluate and find a different route, maybe those pauses are justified.
Would you say
the goal should be to continue the aid as much as possible?
Okay. Would you agree with me as a rational human being that if another human being came to you and said, I think we should stop all aid, and now I'm not talking about a child, I'm talking about an adult. If an adult told you, hey, we should stop all aid, not let a single calorie enter the Gaza Strip, would you agree with me that that's probably kind of a sick human being?
Either a sick or hurt human being, very hurt human being. Like, for example, if I would say that that's very wrong opinion, but if somebody killed my daughter, if a Hamas member killed my daughter, I don't know if I would be able to not have that opinion. Maybe I would, maybe I wouldn't, right?
Okay, I have a question.
So
okay, fair.
I agree with you that that's a wrong position to have, but I will try to be more charitable to people who have been directly hurt.
Sure. So people that were more directly hurt, you think it's okay, like not okay, but
it's not okay. It's not.
You can see how their hurt makes them maybe blurry visioned and maybe indiscriminate to a certain people that were the cause of that hurt. Now,
I wouldn't say the position is justified, but I try to do my best.
You can rationalize it.
No, I cannot rationalize it. I can just try my best not to hate them for their wrong opinion because of the situation. Right.
Sure. If an IDF soldier, I told you, was so infuriated after what happened in October 7th and went to the Gaza Strip, and you know what? Killed a couple of civilians. This is a standalone person, killed a few civilians, knowing that they were civilians out of just, rage. Let's say this was shortly after October 7th. Would you call that person a sick human being? Or would you say, okay, similarly, you can disagree with them, but you can see how they can get to that point?
Well, I mean, I could see how they got to the point of being this sick.
Sure. Okay.
And I think they should be punished.
I agree. But would you call them a sick human being?
Yeah, I mean, being hurt makes you sick. Makes you mentally sick. Yeah.
Okay. Now, if a militant who was a part of Hamas that entered during October 7th lost his family, hypothetically, right? I'm talking about a fake scenario, right? Lost his family to an Israeli...
have real scenario. We have real scenario. Hamas members have
an Israeli airstrike and went in with just pure rage. I want to kill as many Israelis as I see. I don't care if they're Arabs. I don't care if they're Druze. I don't care if they're Jews. I'm gonna see an Israeli and I'm gonna shoot. Would you afford the same charitability to that militant as you do for a IDF soldier or a person that thinks that starving a population or blocking humanitarian aid, like, do you have that same empathy towards the Hamas militant?
Empathy. I didn't show empathy. Okay. But let me tell you something.
But you're consistent.
I actually think about I am being consistent. I just generally try not to hate humans. If I want to neutralize a certain human beings, is not because I hate them, is because they're hurting other human beings, right?
Okay.
I think humans, even when they do the worst things imaginable, this is part of humanity, and it's different. Like let me be honest. I'm not successful all the time. Okay. So I am going to be hypocritical because I'm on one side, and as a human, I'm biased, and one side I will relate to more, especially if they have similar values with me, right? I will be biased, and I will see more connection with the people who see eye to eye with me and have the similar values to me. And I think this is part of my human wiring of my brain, that the people who resemble you the most, you are able to sympathize with them more. But I try and fail many times to not hate humans, and if I advocate for their elimination, for it not to be because I hate them, for it to be because they're just hurting other human beings.
Okay.
I try and I fail. And I admit that I fail, and I am sometimes hypocritical. Yeah.
Okay, that's good. So, you would group, assuming you weren't biased, you would group your feelings towards a group of militants that, let's say, that went through those circumstances that we just talked about, and IDF soldiers.
Let me say this for a while, okay? Because I want people to understand. I hate what these people do. Right? That's what I hate. That's what I try to hate. Okay. And I try not to, because, I think the level of evil sometimes that we see in humanity is part of humanity. Okay. It's a natural part of humanity. It's not justified, but it is to be expected. Okay. And I cannot hate wolves, for example, for doing what wolves do. So I try to see that I cannot hate humans for what humans do. I hate the suffering. I hate the action, and I hate seeing humans suffer. So I think we need to do whatever is necessary to eliminate the suffering as much as possible.
Okay, so you don't necessarily hate Hamas militants.
No, I do, because I fail to meet my own standards.
Okay, so you hate them because you're biased, is what you're saying.
Yes, I am biased because I am biased because they have values that are against what I think would make the world better. I hate them, but I wish that I could. I mean, it doesn't really matter. I think it's a natural part of being human.
You answered the way I wanted you to answer. Sorry, I don't want to cut you off. And again, we can have a long-winded conversation, but I have to run in like 6-7 minutes. So one more topic quickly. It's going to be impossible to make this quick, but somebody earlier had told you in a conversation about, hey, or you said, something about Palestinians were offered 90%, Israelis were offered 10%, or the Jews at the time, there was no Israel, were offered 10%. Palestinians weren't being asked to be thrown out. So this is one of those things I want to correct you on, so moving forward. The Peel Commission, okay, both sides had disagreed to the Peel Commission in principle. Second, the Peel Commission actually explicitly required roughly 250,000 Palestinian Arabs, so, Arabs living in the land at the time, to be removed from the newly found Jewish state, and roughly 12,000 Jews to be removed from areas like Hebron and even parts of East Jerusalem. So that's just a fact that you
Well,
you know,
let me read what I have here. Maybe it's wrong. We could talk about that. Let me see. The 1937 Peel Commission recommended partition Arabs made up around 90% of the population of mandatory Palestine. Oh no, and the Jews 10%. Despite their small numbers, the plan gave Jews a small state, which they accepted in principle as a starting point. The Arab leadership, however, rejected partition outright and escalated the revolt instead. So
this was
maybe I'm
never
wrong.
accepted. This was never accepted in principle. What was said specifically by the Zionist Congress at the time was they would use this as a launch pad, essentially, to continue to expand. That's actually the same thing Ben Gurion said days after the partition plan in the UN in 1947.
Well, we could look. Well, I mean, we could like. That's a whole debate. We could look. I mean, I'm completely okay with to be correct.
But yeah,
on
I mean,
history,
just look up. Okay,
but it's unfair that because we're ending this for you to just drop this in without me.
I will.
This is
I will even
like
give you a link.
Basically, this is
right
you know
now.
how this is unfair because you might be wrong. And then you drop this right at the end, which requires like a half an hour investigation to correct. And I cannot do that right now. So we might have just like put wrong information out there without actually having the time to correct it. So, do you see how unfair that was? To just drop this at the
ask
end?
you to just do this. It'll take you 3 seconds. Peel Commission population transfer. It's gonna take you directly to the article, the portion of the commission, the white paper.
Yeah, but articles don't prove things. I have articles saying so many different things.
Peel Commission findings.
You're saying it would take 3 seconds. You say, look, this is so unfair. You say it would take 3 seconds to find the article. Well, how long would it take to read the article, Axel? How long would it take to fact check the article? You see how you drop this at the very. This is like I think this is bad faith, because then it needs to be investigated.
Sure. This isn't like a CNN article I'm giving you. This is the official British Mandate Peel Commission results.
I don't know. That says you. I have to. You might be wrong. You're right. You might be wrong.
How about
you
this?
Cannot just drop this.
We'll hold this for next time. How about you put? Give yourself a little bit of homework. Were the Palestinians forced to be displaced during the Peel Commission?
Yeah.
Let's investigate that. Was that the case?
Okay. First of all, there was no Palestine back then. What Palestinians? Anyways, we'll talk about that later. Okay. But please note that throughout our discussion, you just questioned me a lot, and you provided no position. Like you were looking for something. The impression I got, and maybe I'm wrong, is that you asked me so many questions for me to say something that was immoral or wrong or could be attacked in a way. But given that every answer I gave you, there was no point where you could sort of tell me that was evil or that was like
no. You
immoral.
Said exactly what I wanted you to say. I mean, you told me specifically that you have a bias, and that's why you look at this. The Hamas militants, for example, different than IDF. You have a bias. No. Not logical. It's a bias.
Obviously, I'm human.
Yes, I agree.
To have bias is to human. Anybody who tells you that they don't have bias, they're lying or they're uninformed about their own. They don't have enough awareness about their own mental state. Okay, so to have bias is to be human. All right. What we need to do is not to eliminate our bias. What we need to do is to be aware of our bias. So when we're trying to come up with rational conclusions, we take our bias into account to try to adjust accordingly to see how much of our bias is impacting our conclusions. So yes, I think that makes me honest. If you think when you say I'm biased, that's a gotcha moment. No, that's not a gotcha moment. That's actually me being fully transparent and honest. And I think that if you think you discovered that I'm biased, well, I have news for you. There's not a single person in the world that is not biased. But what I try to do is to be transparent about my bias with my audience, and also be transparent about it and honest about it to myself, so I could try to reduce, not eliminate, the impact that it has on my conclusions.
Okay, so one thing with what you just said, my purpose when you say you are being biased, okay, to me that ended the conversation right there, because at that point we weren't trying to argue a objective, factual point. We're saying, okay, here's a Hamas militant, here's an IDF soldier. Let's assume they did the same thing. Let's assume they have similar upbringings and similar tragedies happening to them. When you say, well, yeah, I'm just a little bit more biased to one side, even if you recognize that, that's fine. It kind of ends the conversation because now you're acknowledging.
Are you biased? Are you biased?
With certain things, I'm sure I'm biased. But for example, I can tell you something.
Are you biased towards Palestinians
I am
more
not
than
biased.
Israelis?
I am not biased to that 3 + 3 = 6.
Sure.
I can't be biased about that, right?
Are you biased? Are you biased towards Palestinians?
Sorry, you
in
got
favor
cut
of
off.
Palestinians?
Am I biased?
Are you biased in favor? Are you biased in favor of Palestinians?
Probably.
Okay, well
But
then
you would
that
have
ends
to
the
give me-
conversation with you then, based on your standards.
No, you would have to give me a specific point. Like, are you biased that Palestinians
No, I'm
are
applying
being
I'm applying your same standards to you. You said me saying I'm biased ends the conversation. Well, then you saying you're biased towards Palestinians will end the conversation.
topic. It ends the topic we were talking about because, for example, I'm not. But when I see a Hamas militant go into a festival and shoot a random person running away, I can tell you categorically, I hate that person as much as I hate the IDF soldier. Categorically, there is no difference. I feel.
Well, I would. I mean, if I see an IDF soldier in Gaza just shooting a child for the fun of it, I'm pretty sure I would be filled with rage and anger as well. So there you go.
Okay, that's fine, and that was the point, right? You don't hate these people.
I say I try not to hate
results.
people, but I fail. I'm human and I fail. Okay. I try to separate my, because I'm trying to and this is Stoic stuff. I think I try to apply by the principle that if I cannot change something, there's no point getting angry over it. I have to reserve my emotions over the things that I could change. I should just display anger and emotion over the things that I have some say in. But again, that's easier said than done, right?
Okay. When we have a longer conversation, when we have a longer conversation, I will send you an email. We can schedule like an hour or 2 hours to discuss in depth, and we can start from the beginning. We can start from the late 1800s when the first Zionists started arriving, making the first Aliyah to the land of Palestine.
We could have that, but I just feel like my attempt with these conversations was to try to discover the truth.
I think our conclusion is the same.
Hold on, and I maybe I'm wrong, but I got the sense that your point of questioning me was to do a gut you or to defeat me or to basically catch me saying something.
To be honest,
evil.
My point was to show hypocrisy, which you've acknowledged and said that you're biased and humans are biased, and it was a fair answer. That was my purpose. Was you were saying things that seemed hypocritical, so I wanted to come on and say, hey, here's another scenario, and you said, well, yeah, maybe I have I'm predisposed to bias like most humans, which was a fine answer. I don't fault that answer. I don't feel like it's a gotcha. I don't know if you felt it was a gotcha because it wasn't intended to be. It was to point.
No. I'm just being honest. Like I'm just giving you my impression just so that you could like correct me if I'm wrong.
No, that's my intention is not to gotcha anybody. Okay. My intention is to dig down and remove, I guess look at a more micro level in the situation and factually what's happening. Yeah. But when we talk next time, my last thing for you is when we talk about sources, right? Sources is a big deal. One source you can say, oh, this is funded by Qatar. One source I can say, oh, this is funded by Israel. Like, I'm not interested. When we start talking about sources, are there sources that you just don't trust? So I don't bother bringing to the table. For example, do we trust ICJ? Do we trust Human Rights Watch? Forget them. Do we trust B'Tselem, the Israeli human rights organization? Do we trust any of these international organizations, or do you feel like they're all biased and anti-Semitic, or not anti-Semitic, but whatever, biased towards Israel?
No, I mean, I like to nudge, like some sources are more credible than others, right? But I also like to check the not just the credibility of the source, but the way they made the argument as well, beyond just the credibility of the source, right?
Okay. Do you
Like
believe
if I have a source that I usually find credible, and they make a point, and I'm like, holy crap, how did they come up to that point? And I look at the arguments that they make, and I see that it doesn't follow, even if it's a credible source. I would like, I don't understand how they came to this conclusion based on the fact that they provide.
Okay. My goal from our next conversation, Armin, I don't know if I'm saying that right, but my goal for the next conversation is to hopefully, and this may be a tall task, tall order for me, to explain and review the history of this conflict and why I believe a lot of your conclusions are not.
Can we focus on one
incorrect,
thing in history? Because I think history in general could be like so many different things, so many different points. I think if we want to make it productive, we have to pick one thing, one area at a time.
That's
one
fine.
thing that happened.
That's fine. That's fine. We can start with,
Also, maybe we should have a talk about whether history is relevant at all, because we could make the argument that we should just deal with the situation right now as it is, regardless of what happened before.
I mean, if that was
That's
the
another
case,
point.
then we would both have to accuse Israel of genocide.
All right, let's focus on that then. Is Israel doing genocide in Gaza right now? Hello? What happened? Guys, I didn't touch anything. Axel? All right. Hello? Guys, I promise I did not cut him off or anything. Let me just do the super chat. But I don't know what happened. Okay. Axel, you have my email. Did I give him my email? Yes, I did put my email in the private chat. So email me if you want to arrange something. I don't know what happened, guys. All right, let me just read the super chat, and then we'll be. I need to go to my to my private channel and do a show there, guys. My private channel is Armin Navabi. It's right here. So after that, I'm going to go to my private channel. We're going to talk about using AI to improve our businesses. So if you're not interested in entrepreneurship, don't come to my private channel. Okay, I'm going to start that in about 10 minutes after I read the super chats. Okay. Let me see. What are the super chats? Gigi is saying Arab Muslims see Israel negotiating to give Holy Land for peace as cowardly surrender, a signal to attack. Thank you, Gigi, for the super chat. Oh, there's way more super chats. Wow, guys, what's happening? Thank you. Oh, Blue Moon. I didn't see this one. This was earlier. Blue Moon, thank you so much for the Blue Moon for the super chat. Saying when he say my place, oh, that's the previous person. Which place? Why does he live on land that is not his? Does he think all Palestinians is what are you writing? Mexicans should be deported from USA, Canada, and why Palestine have Jordan and Gaza and West Bank? I don't understand this point, but I think people, if you guys understand this, Blue Moon, what are you saying? You're here. You're still here. If you want to explain. Does he think all Palestinian is in to Mexico? I don't understand what you're saying. Blue Moon, it's okay. Blue Moon, oh, Blue Moon in the chat saying sorry. Oh, I'm sorry, Blue Moon. Thank you for the super chat. I appreciate the super chat. It's okay. Don't be sad. Oh, I feel bad now. I feel bad, Blue Moon. That's okay. That's okay. I'm sure. Oh, I feel bad for Blue Moon. Oh, Twitter saying, Armin, we can tell you talk with good faith. We notice. Well, thank you. Thank you, Blue Moon, for the super chat. Oh, you're laughing now. Okay, that's good. I'm glad that you're happy. And thank you for the generous super chat. And then Gigi saying, have you described Iraq and Yemen as pro-Zionist because they make it so Jews have only one home, which is Israel? Anti-Zionist Jews live in safe, open countries. Desperate refugees save Jews, not Zio philosophers. Okay. Desperate refugees save Jews, not Zaya philosophers. Okay. Well, thank you for that, Gigi. And then we have Amir with, thank you so much, Amir, for the 30 shekels, saying about Palestine, since Rome named the area Palestine and no one changed its name until 1948, it was held by the Brits, Turkish, and many more, but never by Palestinians. Yeah, I mean, yeah, since the Brits gave it a Western name, the so-called Palestinians try to use that name as a way to launch their pan-Arabist agenda against Israel. That's how this whole movement started. And the whole pan-Arabist agenda is actually against the concept of a nation state. They were building an empire, not a nation state. So you know that the Palestinian nation state was an excuse for destroying the even existing Arab nation states at that time, because they were trying to build an empire. So yeah, and they just used the Palestine name because they were just trying to use the Western legal framework at the time to launch their movement in creating an Arab bloc against the West, and Israel was in the way. Anyways, guys, I need to go to my personal channel in 5 minutes, starting a show there in 5 minutes. Armin Navabi, come over there. So I'll see you guys there, okay? If you guys are into using AI to improve your entrepreneurial goals, I'm giving you a way to use ChatGPT to 10x your business income if you're interested in all of that, okay? So, but don't come there for politics, okay? Don't come over there for politics. We're not talking politics over there. All right. See you guys on my personal channel, and thank you all, guys. Oh, Tora, you're promoting our, Tora, you're promoting our Discord. I'm going to promote our Discord more because it seems like you wanted to be more busy. So I will also figure out a way to promote it, okay? Because you're promoting it in the chat, okay? Guys, go check out our Discord, link in the description. All right, guys, I'm gonna. Oh, Amir is saying yes, please. Okay, I will do that for you guys. I will build us a community on Discord. Okay, build it, make it bigger. So check out our Discord right now in the description. I will do more to promote that for you guys. All right. Starting next stream. Remind me, please. All right, guys. Bye.